the Jeff Meacham Network's multiverse of media. For over 15 years, the recognized symbol of excellence and the standard bearer in coverage of sports and entertainment.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our very special Star Wars content-laden Saturday night here across the multiverse of media. I am, of course, the Jeff Meacham Network. Multiverse of media, let me be clear on that shit. I am, of course, Jeff Meacham, the founder of the multiverse of media. We will be joining one of our two episodes in just a moment here. I just wanted to come on a little bit before we start and thank everybody again who watched our coverage of Backlash earlier, who also watched my recap of Backlash across both the Multiverse of Media and NoDQ.com. And thank everybody involved at NoDQ.com, including Mr. Tito, for the recap he was doing on that channel, as well as the boss man, Aaron Rift, for allowing me to share in the super chats, which were all total a big old 0. So thank you to everybody who super chatted on the NerdQ.com channel today. That's very bright. I just realized that. That is awful. Let's try to filter that just a smidge. My goodness. Okay, there we go. I can see, and you guys can see me instead of seeing Paleface. So yeah, it's going to be a cool 3 hours we got in store for you here across the multiverse of media. Starting here in just a minute, as a matter of fact, will be the episode of Dad's Not Always on Wrestling that brought us back, JJ and I, 4 years ago today. Maybe not been the exact day of the week, but it is 4 years ago today. JJ and I decided to bring Dad's back on May 4th, 2020, and we decided to make it a Star Wars theme. We decided to take the 11 live action movies, of course, the Skywalker saga itself, as well as Solo and Rogue One, and say our opinion, give our choices, rank the movies. Which was the best? Which was the worst? And God help us, that this is what we came up with. So, ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, here for the first time, being rebroadcast in its entirety on my channel and across the multiverse of media, all the YouTubes as well as the Twix pages, here is Dad's Not Always on Wrestling, May 4th, 2020, ranking the saga. No, your eyes do not deceive you. We are the dads, not always on wrestling, including this week. I am the West Coast Professor, Jeff Meacham, and yes, on the screen with me, believe it or not, it is the Renegade of Wrestling, JJ Williams, and dear Christ, is this the final sign of the apocalypse?
It must be. I mean, we've already had the plague and all the other madness going on.
Yeah, no kidding. And yes, you'll notice episode 1 is starred in the crawl. And yes, Disney, I'm not making a dime off this. And you know what? That crawl is fucking worth it, first of all. Second of all, it's episode 1 star because we've had about 3 episode 1s in this show. So, you know, we had the big premiere out in the front yard of the apartment. We had the big return in 2014 with the camera woman shenanigans, and here we are across the stars, if you will. Yeah, I know I went there. That's a horrible reference, but it's a good.
At least across the counties. I don't know about all the stars, but across the counties.
Well, I mean, you got to figure Hollywood is between you and I right now, so we are across the stars. So it's anyway.
Waka waka Fozzie.
Waka waka. That's it. Well, we'll get to the Muppets other time, I'm sure, because the Muppets are just a huge thing for both of us, especially you, sir. So, however, we decided, as you saw in the crawl, we are trying to bring a little bit of levity to those of you out there who are stuck at home, like me. Gentleman to my side here gets to actually go, out into the world and go to work every now and again because he is one of our essential workers in the world. I can't stress that enough, that y'all are important and we appreciate you. And if you're going out there like this person is, wear a fucking mask, wash your fucking hands, stay 6 feet apart, and leave him alone. Okay.
Please. And don't come out if you don't have to.
Seriously.
And don't bring your whole fucking family if you don't have to.
It's exactly. Damn. I can't. Seriously. Rule of 2. Go with the Sith rule. Okay. Rule of 2, folks.
Thank you. I didn't even think about that, but yes. Thank you. The rule of 2.
If that. If you can do 1, go for it. But
Master,
at least rule of 2. Yeah.
Apprentice. That's it.
Seriously. You do not need to be Mace Windu walking in there with lightsabers ready to chop people down because they're breaking the rules. Don't break the rules yourself, dipshit. Okay, now that I've on my soapbox for a minute.
Yeah.
The reason we're here is we've been talking about bringing dads back for a long time. I've actually had requests from inside the No DQ circle, particularly the NXT team, about, can you and I do dads? Because I'm a new dad now. It's like, well, dads was JJ and my thing. And if I'm going to bring dads back, I want to go and see where he's at in his head. And sure enough, the pitch was made. Here we are. But you and I both know, but the world doesn't know, you're not the most hardcore of wrestling fan these days, because who can blame you, quite frankly. But since we are every other week here on the Jeff Meacham Network, of course, I'm alternating these Fridays. Today's Monday, by the way. If you're not aware, today's May the 4th by the crawl, then you're not paying attention, first of all. But usually we'll be on Fridays, every other Friday, starting 2 weeks from now. Yes, 2 weeks from now. Every other Friday, alternating with the Wrestling Trivia Challenge on Greg's channel. So that way I'm not totally oversaturating y'all with the professor-ness. So, but this week we wanted to do Monday because this Monday is May the 4th. And as you know out there, May the 4th is the official Star Wars Day. Yeah. And also today, and I'm going to give y'all a cheap plug, Disney, so please don't sue me for this video. Today on Disney Plus drops Rise of Skywalker, episode 9. So,
May the 4th is the unofficial Star Wars Day for all the Jedi out there.
Oh, there you go. Oh, here we go.
For the Sith like myself, we observe Revenge of the 5th.
Well, then tomorrow you guys can watch the, you know what? Since I'm going to put this up first thing in the morning on May the 4th, watch them all. There's 11. There's
you can watch them all.
As of this going up, 10 of the 11 are on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
And Disney Plus is dirt cheap, y'all. Seriously, like, you know, if you're paying $10 for the WWE Network and you're paying whatever the hell you're paying Netflix, because Netflix is still a thing, you can afford $6-7 a month for Disney Plus, and they got a library that will, you know, kick anybody's ass.
Yeah.
And the only one that's not on there yet is Solo, which we will get to Solo. But that's still on Netflix for now, so keep that in mind.
So if you have streaming platforms, there is no reason why you cannot watch the 11 major movies.
Now, having said that, before we go into our list, if you will, I do have to give honorable mention, of course, to the ones that are forgotten.
Yes.
The ones that don't make the list because they don't have access to anything anywhere unless you dig, like JJ and I do.
Yeah.
Because of the gentleman with me on the show, I got to witness the spectacle that was the Star Wars Holiday Special of 1978. I cannot recommend that enough, and especially if you get high or drunk before you watch it. Because as our fearless leader in Connecticut would say, it's such good shit. Wow, it is something.
It's the clusterfuck amongst clusterfucks.
Yes. Yeah. If you take the creative genius of George Lucas and the unnecessary celebrity involvement of WWE, you've pretty much got the Star Wars Holiday Special. It's
to put this into wrestling terms.
Yes.
The Star Wars Holiday Special is the equivalent of Sid Vicious jumping off the top rope and breaking his leg, and Brock Lesnar botching his shooting star press at WrestleMania. That is the Holiday Special in a nutshell.
But with much more levity and laughter involved.
Oh, there's plenty of levity and laughter in those two incidents. For the wrong reasons. Much like the Holiday Special.
Thing. The Brock thing was damn funny because we all saw him do that before in OVW. The Sid thing, I still can't watch this. Like, oh, humanity.
But yeah, just as an attempt to try to throw a little wrestling onto this episode since it's non-wrestling.
Yeah.
That's probably the clusterfucky equivalent right there.
That one's definitely a watch. If you dig deep enough and, like I did, find these two.
Thanks to who?
Thanks to you. Okay. You recommended the movies to me, but I can't stress enough how long I dug into the Google video search beyond YouTube, because, you know, Google and YouTube are the same thing. So you have to expand your horizons and you must unlearn what you have learned about video searching, folks. Caravan of Courage and the Battle for Endor. Is that correct? Or Battle of Endor?
I think the first one is just called the Ewok Adventure, and then the second one is Caravan of Courage.
Okay. Either way, Ewok Adventures, the Battle of Endor, and Battle for Endor, whatever, and Caravan of Courage, they actually take place between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, but they came out the years after. So, yes. And I
want to say 84 and 85 respectively. They came out in between the time that Warwick Davis did Jedi and then did Willow.
Right. So if you're on a Warwick Davis kick, you know, then there you go. I would highly recommend those two, because if you, like me, were a lover of the Ewoks, I even had a stuffed Ewok. It's about this big when I was a kid. Those are just damn cute.
Yeah.
As far as the rest of the universe that now Disney recognizes or doesn't recognize, you know, all the animated adventures and the Clone Wars animated film, connect the dots. La 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 la. They really do. Yeah. So I will, once this is up, I will share with the world what I shared with JJ and what I officially call the unofficial Williams verse of Lucasfilm, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have discovered half of this shit. So, but
I have to jump in there for a quick second. I have to give a couple other honorable mentions here. Okay. More parody than traditional canon, but you've got to give an honorable mention to Spaceballs.
Oh, definitely. Yes.
And I feel honorable mention has to be given to the Family Guy Star Wars trilogy. Blue Harvest, again, something Dark Side, and of course, It's a Trap.
Yes. Cannot recommend those enough away from your children. Let me make that clear. You think Family Guy on its own is bad? uncensored on Blu-ray in the form of Star Wars, yeah, hide the women and the children, folks. And
Hide your wives. It's Family Guy.
yeah, and even some men you might want to hide too, because some men are just sissies and just don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, the Family Guy stuff, again, thanks to you, I discovered I am not a Family Guy. Let me just throw it out there. But that stuff is gold.
Yeah.
So,
Especially
all right.
the part in something dark side at the very end where they point out the fact that Lando is wearing Han's clothes.
Right.
Like, what the hell? And you don't even realize it until you see that.
Yeah.
And then you go back and you watch the real trilogy, and it's like, holy shit, Lando really is wearing Han's wardrobe right now. What the actual fuck?
Now, here's my line of thinking on that. Either A, the Rebel Alliance clearly has no large wardrobe department.
Well, I mean, have you seen their fighter suits? Just saying.
Or B, Lando's some mystical creature we don't know about, because somehow he got Han's clothes off of him prior to the carbon freeze and then thrown back on him prior to the Jedi release.
I think most of the Rebel Alliance's wardrobe budget is spent on hair and wardrobe for Leia. Just throwing that out there.
Which is why she died it down quite a bit in the sequel trilogy. Just throwing it out there. She wasn't over the top. All right, so I'm going to go first here because Star Wars is much more your domain than it is mine, because, again, I came into the apartment 10 years ago, a hardcore Trekkie who had happened to see the Star Wars films in theaters and was a fan, but not a, diehard, practitioner of the Force. And I have since turned around and now practice both sides of the Paramount Fox Disney World. So there you go. All right. I think we can both agree on number 11, and I'm just going to throw it out there. And if you want to chime in and say agreed or whatever, Attack of the Clones, episode 2. Just honestly, other than Across the Stars, I can't find one redeeming quality of this movie. Yes, the love story with Anakin and Padme is what it is. It has to be evolved to get us to A New Hope. We have to get to Luke and Leia. We have to get to find out how they came to be, and that's wonderful. But it is the least Star Wars movie, I feel, of the Grand Nine, if you will, the Skywalker saga itself. Not a fan, but the soundtrack, as always, is amazing. I said this to you the other night in private chat. There's legends, there's icons, and then there's George Lucas and John Williams. And John Williams' score in episode 2 definitely saves the day. For me, this was hard. I'll tell you why. It was hard to say this because it's the only one that I went to see with Dylan in the theaters together. Rise of Skywalker is my number 10 out of the 11.
Okay.
Again, I appreciate Kathleen Kennedy and everybody wanting to write the Star Wars fans a love letter, but this was more of the 18 pages front and back thing from Friends than it was a love letter. I mean, it was just so much crammed into it, and they completely said, "Oh, Last Jedi, yeah, fuck that guy, whatever. We're gonna do our own shit here." So everything they established in Last Jedi pretty much got swept. Oh, cute. You're cute. Middle part trilogy's cute. So, and then they went with what they went with. Not a hater of it, just not my favorite of the sequel trilogy by and large.
Okay.
Number 9, Solo. I don't know what I expected for. I guess I expected, because Rogue One was so damn good, and I'll get to Rogue One momentarily, that I figured the entire anthology series would just kick some serious major ass. And Solo was action packed and did have a lot of cool scenes and cool moments, but the overall dialogue and the overall presentation of the story just really didn't do it for me. I didn't feel, and the fact is, if you go by the ending of the movie compared to when we see him in A New Hope, it's pretty much instantaneous as far as the transition within a few moments of each other, I guess. I mean, a few months, whatever it is. So you're telling me that he was so in love with this girl, she burns him, like a freaking Christmas tree on January 1st. And all of a sudden he meets Leia and realizes he's in love with her, but, is being a typical, you're worshiping, he really went that quick into not worrying about his love. Don't buy it. The Chewie stuff was cool, though. Number 8, Phantom Menace. Again, the prequel trilogies are what the prequel trilogy is what it is, as we say on NerdQ and everywhere. It is what it is. Just it's good, but there are much better stories, and I feel that for the first new outing in whatever it was, 16 years at the time, it could have been a lot better. The only reason number 7 is Revenge of the Sith is because it's the best of the worst, if you will. I personally enjoy Revenge of the Sith. I like it a lot. Like I do. I really like it a lot. And I loved that they tied it all together. And okay, here's where we all know going into 2005. Okay, here's where we see Anakin become Vader. Here, how does it happen? And they pulled it off very well. Again, I had a hard time reconciling Anakin's freaking over emo personality. It was like it was like Spider-Man 3 on steroids. It was just like.
But you can't fully fault Hayden for that.
I don't.
It's just the way the script was written. Like,
I don't fault Hayden one bit. I fault Lucasfilm. But I fault,
But I feel like a lot of people do fault Hayden.
Right. No, I know.
Then they fault the script.
No.
And it's like, I feel like that needs to be reversed. It's the script.
Oh, it totally is.
Hayden just did what he could do with it. And I'll go into more detail when I get to my list. But I have that one much higher up on my list than you do.
Yeah. And honestly, I think Star Wars' entire 42-year history is focused around the whiny baby face, if you will, trying to be not so whiny as the saga progresses. Luke, Anakin, Rey. All right, number 6 is Force Awakens. And I only like Force Awakens more than Revenge of the Sith because, again, it was one of those, new Star Wars movie, new Star Wars movie. And it was good, and the emotional impact of the end. And if you haven't seen Force Awakens, spoiler alert. Kylo Ren killing his father, Han Solo, I still, saying it as I just said it just now, I got chills. I'll never forget sitting in the theater. You know what? Actually, Dylan came to that one too. I take that back. No, it was Patrick. Whoever sat next to me, he could hear. They told me later they could hear me as Han was approaching Ben. I'm going, oh my God, no, oh my God, no, oh God, oh God, oh God, no, please no, please no, please not. Like muttering to myself. And Patrick goes, "What was wrong with you?" I'm like, "Dude, I knew it was coming. I fucking knew it was coming." When that lightsaber ignites, I screamed almost as loud as Chewbacca did. No lie. No! Like, for you, I can only equate it to the moment we were watching Frozen with another Han. I bet I kicked the fucking TV in that day. Yeah. All right. Number 5, Return of the Jedi. The classic end of the trilogy, what we all thought was going to be the end of the trilogy for many, many years. And I will say I prefer the original release of Return of the Jedi over the special edition. I prefer Sebastian Shaw being there at the end as a ghost. I prefer the Nub Nub song more than the damn. The overlay is very beautiful. Again, John Williams is a fucking genius, but the Nub Nub song is just my childhood. It just yanks at me. Oh jeez. So, but the overall, the resolution of the story, Anakin's redemption, and now we know later that it really was the story of the rise, the fall, the redemption of Anakin Skywalker. But in the moment, you're like, okay, cool. Luke saved his dad. That's great. We're gonna, we have a happy ending. It's typical Disney, even though it was a Fox movie. So it was very, very well done. Mm-hmm. All right, number 4, The Last Jedi. I feel Last Jedi does not get near enough credit for what they tried to do with that story. I felt it was a very, very well told movie all the way through. Luke's story in that movie is just classic. I did not like the part at the okay. Let me say, Force Awakens ending with the freaking 22-minute lightsaber hold, and then to open up with like the hell. We waited 3 years for that. The hell, asshole. So that pissed me off. But the arc of Kylo was very well done in this movie. I feel that given where Rise of Skywalker went, it was kind of like, okay, so he really wants to be the bad guy, but he knows he's not, but he's trying, but in a sense. So, and Luke's ultimate story resolution, it was very, very well done. So I love it. Number 3, Rogue One. Cannot recommend Rogue One enough to anybody who isn't even a Star Wars fan. Like, if you were to honestly, go and rent a movie at your Blockbuster, if Blockbuster was still anywhere besides Bend, Oregon, and you were to go, rent, a movie somewhere or watch a movie somewhere, and you wanted to see a sci-fi, action-packed, great story, great character development, great, within the confines of 2.5 hours, Rogue One pulls it off. Because, other than the presence of Vader and Governor Tarkin, you really don't get a whole lot of Star Wars stuff here. It's very much a story of a group of people who band together to fight a common enemy and take out a horrible weapon geared at their fellow independents or rebels or whatever you want to call them. And I did like the very, very subtle, very, very cool cameo at the end where they CGI'd Carrie and used her voice saying hope. It was like, oh, yes. I found somewhere on YouTube a little video that somebody put together of the end of Rogue One, little bitty custom video, beginning of New Hope. It was brilliant. So love the transition to New Hope. Great. Rogue One was great, as was number 2, A New Hope. You can't go wrong with the original more often than not. And luckily for George, even if it wasn't a 42-year saga that we sit in right now, Star Wars itself, A New Hope, ended very, very well. Great 2.5 hours of whatever it was of movie making. I'm being called. I gotta hang up. So let me just go ahead and do it. Oh, that's okay. That's right. Again, Star Wars is the classic epic movie. It's an epic storytell. It's fantasy. It's sci-fi. It's thriller. It's action. It's everything. And it's just so well done that had Empire Strikes Back not existed, it would be number 1. But Empire Strikes Back is just it's the only middle child in history that just kicks ass, except for maybe Back to the Future Part 2, because Empire Strikes Back set the standard for I'm the middle child, but I'm gonna kick serious ass, and here's why. Just amazing storytelling. The character development from New Hope and leading to Jedi is just so well told. The obnoxious almost love story between Han and Leia just went so well. Luke's character development was good in this movie. The big reveal, of course, and again, if you're watching this, don't know the big reveal of Empire Strikes Back, pause the damn video and go watch Empire now, because you're about to get wrecked in your head. Seriously.
Luke, I am your father.
What's awesome is I found out later they filmed that with David Prowse saying, "No, Obi-Wan killed your father," and Luke and Mark Hamill reacting the same way, and then they dubbed in James Earl Jones after the fact, and it still works. So, all right. Oh,
I have to touch on one thing you said there when you were talking about Empire being probably the only middle child in movie history that kicks ass, other than Back to the Future 2.
Okay.
I have to throw out a couple of others there.
Okay.
That definitely kick as much ass. One, I'm not even really a huge fan of this franchise, but Aliens are superior to the original Alien.
Haven't seen it, so I'll take your word for it.
Captain America, the Winter Soldier. by
Yeah.
and large, people feel is one of the greatest Marvel movies, period,
Right.
let alone it being better than the first Avenger. Spider-Man 2 with Doc Ock.
Yeah, okay, I'll concede that.
There have been a few. Young Guns 2, in my opinion, a lot better than the original. Definitely more humor based, where the original is more drama based.
Right.
But still, I will pop in the second one almost any day over watching the original, yes.
I'm probably going to shit on your next movie you're going to bring up, but considering the shirt I'm wearing and the hat I'm wearing, Jeff, D2, hello, Ducks 2, hello. Yeah, sorry, my bad. Ducks 2 was damn good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there have been quite a few middle children in the movie world that were definitely as good as, if not superior to the original.
Right.
But I concede your point that they are few and far between.
Yes. And Empire set that standard.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, here you go. All right.
So
let me get comfortable here.
I did not even rank this one. So
wow.
It's just going to automatically go at number 11 for me, and that's Solo, a Star Wars
Okay,
story.
good. Okay, good. Okay, good. Yeah.
I've tried watching it. I've watched it completely through about twice now, and I think I've tried watching it a third time, and I just cannot get into it. And I think, at least for me, the biggest problem is the fact that when I think Han Solo, I think Harrison Ford.
Right.
And I have a hard time seeing anybody else try to portray that character, even at a younger age, because obviously Harrison is not that young anymore to do, a prequel movie.
No.
But I just don't buy anybody else as that character. Unlike how they could have done a Boba Fett movie.
Yeah.
But because it's a guy in a suit, they wouldn't have to get the original actor.
Right,
The
exactly.
same way that the gentleman, I forget his name, took over for Peter Mayhew as Chewbacca.
Yeah, I can't remember his name either.
Those type of characters, it's a little bit easier to buy into because it's a costumed character. But
right.
If it had been a prequel movie about Luke and it hadn't been Mark Hamill, you would have been like, I don't know. Like, that's Luke to me.
Yep.
So, number 11 on my list is Solo.
There you go. Okay.
Number 10, the first one I officially ranked, is Episode 8, The Last Jedi.
Okay.
Again, I've tried watching it a couple times. I've watched it in the context of watching the entire saga from start to finish. And I'm not necessarily going to say that I buy into what all the naysayers say because I formulate my own opinions.
Right.
But it just didn't reel me back into the verse the way that Force Awakens and Rise of Skywalker did.
Okay.
Number 9 is Attack of the Clones for me.
So Attack of the Clones is better than Last Jedi.
Yes.
Okay.
Because of, and I've mentioned this to you numerous times in our talks, but because of one scene.
Yes.
You say there are no redeeming qualities in that movie aside from John Williams' score. That one scene is what nails it for me every time. And for those of you out there that don't know, that don't have the insight that me and Jeff have, the scene is after Anakin storms the Tusken Raider camp and just murders everybody because of his mother's death. And then he goes back home and he tells Padme, I murdered them. I slaughtered them all. And not just the women, or not just the men, but the children and the women. and you could just see the emotion in Hayden's face. It was at that moment that you really saw the beginnings of what would become Vader,
Right.
in my opinion. And
Okay.
that scene is what always saves that movie for me.
Yeah. It's the story of Anakin and Padme, and I forget that scene a lot because I get so wrapped up in the fact that just 95% of that movie is just like. But
there is one other redeeming quality of that movie.
Okay.
They scaled Jar Jar back immensely for 2 and 3 after part 1.
Well, okay.
So there was some redemption there too, damn it.
But you and I have had this talk many times in the last 15 years that Jar Jar was the fucking guinea pig for Yoda in 2.
Yes, I was going to get there when I get to my ranking of Phantom Menace.
Yeah. Yeah, because honestly, if Yoda wasn't doing down Count Dooku in 2, there would have been no fucking Jar Jar. I say that to this day.
Strike that. Reverse it. If there had been no Jar Jar, there could have been no.
No. What I'm saying is, if there wasn't the thought of Yoda doing the, being able to CGI Yoda to that degree, then there would have been no test dummy. And I wish it would have been a crash test dummy. Anyway, he kind of was.
Number 8 for me is Return of the Jedi.
Oh wow! Okay, wow. Now you have my attention.
Only because of the fact that I don't feel that looking back on it in retrospect, it's as good as it was when I first saw it as a kid.
Wow. Okay.
When you're a kid and you're seeing it, you're growing up. I was like 7 or 8 when it came out. You see the cute little furry Ewoks, and you're like, oh, those guys are so cute. But the older you get, the more you're like, those things are fucking annoying.
Okay, well, yeah, remember when... Do you happen to know what month Jedi came out of curiosity?
I don't remember it. Probably summertime somewhere.
Okay, because we know the age difference, you and I together, but yeah.
But I mean, don't get me wrong. Return of the Jedi definitely has redeeming qualities, more so than I can say for The Last Jedi or Attack of the Clones. But a good, solid chunk of that story is Endor and the Ewoks, and it's like, if you had cut that in half, I might rank it a little bit higher these days.
Right. I was 85 days old when Return of the Jedi came out.
Okay, so number 7 is Rogue.
Oh God. Anyway, go ahead. Rogue One. Okay.
Number 7 is Rogue One. A lot of the stuff that you mentioned, I'm gonna just be real cheap here and say I second those sentiments.
Very good.
The way they were able to pull off Tarkin and have him look exactly like he did in A New Hope was great to me.
And that voice actor they got to fill in for Peter Cushing was just like spot the hell on. Damn. Yeah.
On the one hand, when I first heard about Rogue One, I was like, do we need to tell this story? And then when I saw it executed, I was like, yes, we fucking needed this story.
Yes. What's scary is there's so much more between 3 and Rogue One that other than the Rebels cartoon series, there's a lot of meat on that bone.
Yeah.
Like a lot.
And I have to say, for whatever reason, I've just never gotten drawn into the Star Wars animated series.
Right.
Even going back to when I was a kid and the droids and the Ewoks cartoons, just something about them didn't really hook me then either.
Right.
So, number 6 is The Phantom Menace.
Okay.
And we'll go ahead and get a little bit deeper in here, like we were touching on earlier. Everybody wants to shit on Jar Jar, And I have said for years, you touched on it a little bit earlier, that I firmly believe that Jar Jar was the test dummy, as you said.
Yeah.
They needed to see where technology was as far as doing a computer character, because they knew Yoda was probably going to be a fair part of the prequels.
Right.
And we had been told what a warrior Yoda was. We needed to see him fight.
Yep.
You could not do that with a little fucking puppet.
No.
Frank Oz is a god. Do not get me wrong. But he would not have been able to pull off what they needed Yoda to do in a lightsaber battle.
I would love a blooper reel of him trying, though, personally.
Right?
Sadistic as fuck, yes, that is, but, you know.
So Jar Jar was the blueprint as to how to make believable computer-generated characters that could interact with the humans and do all that kind of stuff. So the next time you pop in your DVD or Blu-ray and you're going to have a shit on Jar Jar fest, just keep that in mind. Because it just makes what they do with Yoda in episode 3 that much better.
Yeah, again, folks, if you hate on Jar Jar, then you have no love for Yoda versus Dooku and Yoda versus the Emperor. Just saying. Just saying.
Number 5 is The Rise of Skywalker.
You got it high. Wow, okay.
I adore this movie. And I'm going to tell you what, I sat there in that theater knowing it was coming.
Yep.
Wondering how they were going to address it. And blubbering like a baby.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And they dealt with Leia's death.
Yeah.
And it wasn't watching her die that got to me. It wasn't watching the rebels react to her passing that got to me.
No.
As funny as it's going to sound, it was Chewbacca's reaction that got to me.
Yeah. Chewbacca's reactions to everything in that sequel trilogy just wreck me. They do.
It's like, oh, well, how can a Wookiee make you cry? Watch his reaction to finding out that Leia was gone.
Yeah.
He had been with her through 6 fucking movies.
Yeah.
They were
family. Yeah, remember, these movies take place over 42 years of movie history, but they also take place in that time in their world. Because Jedi takes place, whatever it is, 33 years before Force Awakens. So Han and Leia and Chewie were all this little group, this family for 40 years.
Yeah.
You know,
and we still don't have canon movie or television as to what happened with Han, Leia, and Chewie specifically between Jedi and Force Awakens.
Right.
That's a whole nother untapped market that they can either do little solo movies like they did for Rogue One, or Solo, pun intended.
Yeah.
Or it could be a Disney Plus series like they're doing with Mandalorian.
And honestly, you know, if you haven't watched the holiday special, Chewie doesn't have a family of his own. So, you know, as far as the canon, he doesn't. So
Han is his family.
Yeah, Han was his family for years. Yeah.
Solo.
Yeah.
And then by proxy, Leia became his family when they became a couple.
Right. And you'll notice when Han gets murdered, he is just angry and just wants to destroy every fucking thing. When Leia dies, you see him collapse. He has the Ralph Mouth moment, man. He's like, he completely is shattered. It's like, yeah, again, I'm not a fan of the whole movie, but the moments like that, I'm fucking crying now. Think about it.
Right? I'm trying to contain myself.
Like, Jesus. Yeah, it's damn you, George Lucas.
Well, see, but that's the thing. Lucas had nothing to do with Rise of Skywalker or the prequel trilogy.
Well, no, the sequel, yes. Prequel, yes. Sequel, no. Yeah.
Yes. trilogy.
Yes, that was Kathleen Kennedy, but he is the one that, you know, said, okay, well, I'm retiring, but you do you. So, you know, he basically appointed his apprentice, if you will.
Yeah.
Rule 2.
Damn it. Number 4 for me is The Force Awakens.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just hitting you back to back with the sequel trilogy because
I know.
I felt that The Force Awakens did everything that The Phantom Menace tried to do but failed.
Okay.
It reintroduced you to the universe that you knew and loved. It brought in some familiar characters, and it had begun a grand new adventure.
Yeah. It established the fact that, yeah, the 3 of them are here, but these are your heroes.
Yeah.
So, well said, sir.
Number 3 is A New Hope, the one that started it all.
You have not. Okay, go ahead.
Everything that I just said about The Force Awakens, A New Hope did first.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the original.
Yep.
It laid the groundwork. You know, you cannot say much about A New Hope that hasn't already been touched on.
Yes.
This is where we're going to come to the biggest point of contention.
Right.
To Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah. The fact you had that, I'm like, he's a motherfucker number 2.
It was, as you said earlier, it was the best of the worst. I feel like it does not get the credit it deserves.
Okay.
Like you said about The Last Jedi, like Revenge of the Sith is a phenomenal movie, in my humble opinion.
Hey.
And maybe I just lost a whole lot of stock with your viewers for saying that. But legit,
I think we lost them doing a Star Wars thing in the first place, Jeff.
The Revenge of the Sith is one of my favorite movies.
Wow.
I mean, emo Anakin notwithstanding, because as we touched earlier, that was more the writing than anything.
Right.
From start to finish, that movie, I think, is just epic. You get the crumble of the Obi-Wan Anakin friendship. You get Anakin scrambling and doing whatever he can to try to figure out how to save Padme from death during childbirth. You get, as a result, Anakin getting closer and closer to Sidious. You get the fall of the Jedi. You get Order 66.
Which still I can't order faster to this day and get that order because I have a moment at restaurants that's like, damn it.
I mean, again, when Anakin walks into the Jedi Temple with the younglings, and they're like, Master Anakin, what are we going to do? And you just see that blade ignite. It's the same reaction you had with Ben and Han.
Like, no!
Oh my God. Is this really going to fucking happen? And then he kills them just like he did the women and the children Tusken Raiders.
I wish they didn't show it on camera. Good Lord.
Of course not. They couldn't show that. I mean, come on.
Well, I mean, it was Fox, so you know what?
Anakin Skywalker, not Jason Voorhees.
Yeah. Or Jason the Solo, if you want to go to the books.
And then you had that insane battle on the Mustafar system.
Right.
Which, dare I say, mimics the Simba and Scar battle on the Lion King.
We've had that talk a few times. Yeah, it's if you side by side screen, yeah.
We have, but I'm throwing it out there for the rest of the
right. Yeah, exactly.
Really think about that. It's like, oh shit, it kind of is, you know?
Yep. Except Anakin's not the old uncle. So yeah.
And then to the birth of Darth Vader.
Yep.
And seeing him in the suit the whole time. I mean, all of those moments that I just mentioned, it's like, how can you honestly dispute that that's not a great movie?
I feel it is a great movie. I just feel the other, whatever I put in front of it, were better in their own way. So.
Fair enough. To each their own.
But yes.
And then the only place that we do agree,
yes.
number one is the Empire.
Yeah, I will die on that damn freaking Tatooine sandhill about Empire not being the best one. It's an amazing story.
Yeah.
It, for me, okay, growing up as a young professor, a student teacher, if you will, I was yeah, teacher assistant there. Well, that's a whole other story. Anyway, wow. I was much more almost had a spit take on the wrestling. Almost. Almost wasted Dr. Pepper, which you don't do. So yeah. Yeah, you and Teresa, I blame for everything Dr. Pepper was in my life now. Anyway, yeah. So I grew up before there was even wrestling in my life, there was Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until they released the special editions in 1997 that I really got into the Star Wars movies, and including those re-releases when they released them, whatever it was, February, March, April, whatever it was, in 97, I have seen every single Star Wars movie, if not opening night, then opening weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you that fan base, the practitioners of the Force, if you will, are just the most diehard single I don't know if a single story is the right word, but single franchise fans I've ever seen. Like, people in our circle, criticize the WWE universe for being so diehard dedicated to Vince McMahon that they will let him get away with anything, and to be fair, a lot of the Star Wars fans are the same way, but a lot of Star Wars fans have really spent years debating which of these is the best. And I want to hear from you guys out there in the comments, however you want to lay it out there. Let me know what you guys think. We're going to be back with Dads every other week, as I said, every other Friday. So today's May the 4th, Star Wars Day. So we won't be back here on the air with Dads until, figure for a minute, 15, until May 22nd. And on May 22nd, we're going to have a wrestling topic. I know, easy JJ, it's okay. We are going to give our list, our opinions on the 10 best wrestlers never to have held a WWE recognized world championship. Well, what does that mean, Jeff? We had that talk. WWE, as far as I am aware, recognizes their world titles, WCW, the NWA, although I don't know how they recognize the TNA champions. I chose to recognize the TNA champions, but I don't know. I have also redone my list after the fact. So, and of course the TNA championships themselves, and AEW, they don't recognize that. And I believe Ring of Honor is also on their non-inclusion list. So basically, the properties that WWE has purchased, the Jim Crockett era NWA, WCW, AWA, ECW, those are on the you can't use that name list. So that'll be on May 22nd. I understand that you have some plugs, and I definitely want to make sure you get those out there because I know you're trying to do your thing on social media. So have at it, sir.
Plugs?
I
know I'm losing hair, but I don't think I need any plugs.
How about promotional material?
Well, I just have my Instagram that I'm really trying to get out right now that I just created specifically for the return of this show.
Okay.
It is the Renegade JJ Williams.
Right.
All one word. I don't know if you put that in the description or anything.
I will throw it across the screen as you talk. That way it can be a. I can do that now. I have technology and shit.
I'll text that shit. I remember when I had to be the one editing, and now the student has become the master.
Cool too. But, you notice, all my shows are two co-hosts, me and somebody else. So
Yeah. But yeah, so that's the only thing right now. The Renegade JJ Williams on Instagram. You can find me. Bring up some topics that you want me and Jeff to cover. I'll shoot them to him. It's like he said, 1 week we'll be doing a wrestling related something. The next week that we do a show, it'll be non-wrestling, just because, as he stated, I'm not huge into wrestling anymore. So it's going to be basically top 10 formats like this, but stuff that I can at least have some kind of knowledge about, which would exclude the current product.
Yes. Maybe, just maybe, we'll get to that list. Like, it's funny. Every year on Facebook memories, I get the notification, send topics to JJ and I. The 10 best trilogies not named Star Wars or Back to the Future. I mean, never fucking did that show.
Nope. In fact, before you pitched this, I was going to say, do we want the trilogies to be our first fucking show?
I know, right? Seriously. Well, the thing with Star Wars is it's 3 trilogies on its own now.
You're right.
Take up half the damn show. So
exactly.
We definitely can't do Star Wars. So, but it's, there are so few good, honest trilogies that are just trilogies. Like Halloween 4 through 6, they're good, but they're part of an overall, presentation. Same with the classic Trek movies. You could argue that Wrath of Khan through Voyage Home is its own little story, but it's still part of the overall grand Star Trek phenomenon. So, the new Star Trek movies, there 3 of them, but again, it's, you really have to classify what is a trilogy. So, trilogy is a definitive beginning, definitive middle, definitive end. So,
and it can't just be 3 movies from a bigger franchise,
right? And again, the only reason I would ever use Star Trek 2 through 4 is because Star Trek 2 basically says, okay, motion picture didn't happen, let's move right along. And then Voyage Home ends with, okay, we've got Spock back, we're going back, oh shit, Earth's dead, we have to save Earth. They save Earth, Kirk gets his command back, off they go. Boom, that's the end of the trilogy. That's good shit. So again, that's the only reason I argue with that particular one. But yeah, I mean, there's the Alien, but again, Alien also became more than 3. So there's trilogy is a pain in the ass. So maybe we should just do franchises.
Could look into that.
We could.
I think we could still figure out the trilogy part, but
we could. But that's for another time, another place, because next time
maybe that'll be the non-wrestling one for June, just because it's been on the back burner for so goddamn long.
I would have to agree with that assessment. So May 22nd, don't forget, tune back in. The top 10 non-world champions, WWE recognized. For the Renegade Wrestling, JJ Williams, I am the Wrestling Professor Jeff Meacham saying we will see you guys next time right here on Dad's Not Wrestling.
It is clear that young Jeff Meacham from 4 years ago was a fool. Lord Hamis is here to run this next part of the this shit. First of all, Last Jedi is awful. It just is. Attack of the Clones is far better than that narrow-minded fool gave it credit for. It does rank up there with the best of them. My enlightened view at this point is that they all got a redeeming quality with the exception of Solo. The only thing that is redeeming about Solo is its name, because it should be buried so low we can't ever see it again. It was awful. And I think I definitely gave Last Jedi far too much praise and not near enough praise to Force Awakens or Rise of Skywalker. Yes, Rise of Skywalker did have a lot crammed into it, but it is what it is. Couldn't even see me. It's just too damn dark. Anyway, we have a couple of moments. I want to remind everybody, coming up after this next episode, at our usual open mic night time slot of 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, shall be our Star Wars trivia in the style of Jeopardy. We do have two contestants lined up now, Matthew Hostetter and Josh Mansfield, the Melter of the Multiverse himself, challenging our interim champion for open mic game night, Emmanuel Dominguez. So stay tuned for that. For now, though, we move ahead to this time last year. Actually, it was May the 5th, Revenge of the 5th. I guess I can say Revenge of the 5th. But before we get to our episode that ranked the top 10 Star Wars characters, the top 10 characters from a galaxy far, far away, let's take a look at what's coming up here across the Jeff Meacham Network Multiverse Media, since that fool decided to rank as he ranked 4 years ago. We're going to save his sorry ass now. Present better content than that deplorable list he decided to inflict upon you all. JJ, as he do, save the day with his. But anyway, here now is what is to come across the multiverse.
And now, preview time. So let's take a look at what's coming your way.
Gary Hebert, the man, the myth, the legend. I was amazed, and I was looking to become a better skater myself, and I wanted to be like Gary.
When you look at a guy like this, he's one of the most talented people in his profession. He's been given gifts by God.
It can get frustrating at times when you're trying things that, that maybe don't come as quickly to you as other things. And, you never really felt that sense of frustration with Gary. It was always about improvement and positive reinforcement.
Was it really the end? Was that head injury really the end? God has called Gary to continue to be a blessing to others and to be a passionate example.
My name is Gary Hebert, and this is the World Academy of Hockey, otherwise known as the Inside Edge.
I would recommend anybody that have a chance to come to his hockey school. I think it'd be well worth it. It'd be rewarding to all the kids and anyone he coaches, from whether it's an adult, a professional player, to a little kid like a Mike or a Squirt.
Gary, from day one, has been instrumental to my hockey career. I started out as a potential Division III player, and Gary brought me single-handedly through high school and into a top Division I prospect. I owe it all to Gary, the biggest legend on and off ice there's ever been.
Listen, watch, learn, be confident, and have faith. Those are the answers I was brought to. Yet, I only now and really learning how truly important those 5 things are.
Through preparation, through appropriate thoughtfulness and thinking, we can learn to untie the typical knots between our ears that drive us into underachievement and underperformance. And lo and behold, we can learn, I think, to fulfill our God-given potential.
Gary has the innate ability to make people not only better players, but better people. The life lessons they learn from Gary are incredible.
I can always remember leaving that rink knowing as a player I got better or I had something to improve on to get better. And I think that's what you excelled on as a coach, is giving us the knowledge to know what we needed to do to get better.
There's coaches who know the game, but can you communicate and create passion in your kids and in your players? And Gary's able to do that.
Gary's got great knowledge and the great hands, but more importantly, his ability to connect with people and care for them. His communication skills, to me, really stand out and separate him, and that's why he's one of the best, in the world.
Gary's a legend. He's a special, special man.
Force is clearly not with me today during this damn show. And WrestleMania.
welcome to today's installment of The Dads, Not Always on Wrestling. I, of course, am the Renegade JJ Williams, and I'm being joined today by Lord Hamis.
Lord Hamis, you insolent fool. Say it right.
What the?
Everything is unfolding as I have foreseen, JJ. Yesterday, I spent the day at Galaxy's Edge. Today, we talk about the people contained in that galaxy under my rule. And yes, we have cookies.
All right. If you could not guess by Lord Hamis's outfit here, let alone the space background or the image in the corner over here.
I am.
Today we're going to be discussing our top 10 characters from the Star Wars franchise.
Yes. Okay. It's too damn hot in this. Even in space, it's too damn hot for that damn rope for too long. So,
This should be an interesting one.
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly.
Much like the TV villains one, this was harder than I thought it was going to be.
Really, I actually found it rather easy for myself personally.
Well, you're also not to crap all over you, but you're also a Trekkie.
Right.
I am somebody who's been rooted in Star Wars lore since pretty much birth.
That's
considering I was born in 76 and the original movie was 77.
Yeah, that's it.
Like I have strong roots in this galaxy.
Yes.
And it would be a lot easier for me to rank the top 10 worst characters than to rank the 10 best characters, because it's like, what do you go off of?
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
You know, we didn't simplify it and say top 10 Star Wars villains, top 10 Star Wars good guys.
Right.
You know, we left it open.
We did.
You know, do we just go off of the movies? Do we go off of the cartoons? Do we go off of the books? Do we go off of the holiday special?
No.
You know, it's like, but seriously though, you know,
No, I agree.
Here you're making the haha, but what do we go off of? There are so many Star Wars characters.
Yes, there are.
And virtually all of them, even the worst ones, have their good points to them.
This is very true.
So this was really difficult for me, and I'm going to go ahead and cop to it now. I took the cheap way out for a couple of entries.
Okay, I mean, I can own that too.
It was just that difficult,
right?
But enough about me.
Yes.
This is a non-wrestling show, so I go last.
You do, and Star Wars is more your jam than it ever was mine anyway. So there is that.
So let's throw things over to the restored Jeff Meacham, the West Coast professor.
Yes, restored, because I actually figured out. Spoiler: we pre-taped, kids. During the Raw recap I did for Aaron yesterday, that if I turn the light down on my computer, I won't be so freaking whited out. Look really like the Emperor with all my whited out skin. So it's like, ooh, I actually look decent today. So yes, as you mentioned, you copped out. I did too, but only on one actual entry that I will call it a cop out, right?
Okay.
Honorable mentions before or after?
After.
Okay.
Let's do honorable mentions after I do mine. That way, if I present somebody that is an honorable mention for you, you can wax proxy on it.
That's fair. My honorable mentions, I have pictures with them within the Galaxy's Edge, or actually one of them is over in over the Jedi Training Academy. Anyway, number 10 for me is somebody that I haven't had a whole lot of exposure to just yet. I'm slowly making my way through what we call within the Disney Plus speak her essentials that have been listed on the app as we get ready for the premiere of her own series, which is coming up very, very soon. Of course, I'm referring to Ahsoka Tano at number 10, voiced by my buddy Ashley Eckstein, who I cannot gush over enough. Her and her hubby.
And about to be portrayed by Rosario Dawson. I mean,
yes,
the queen of geekdom, if you will.
Yes, she actually. If I remember right, and again, I haven't got anywhere near Mandalorian, and I should. And I'm a horrible Disney cast member for that. But I know Rosario played Ahsoka in the live action version so far, and they can get her own series now. So good for her.
Exactly.
But yeah, Ahsoka is one of those characters that, if you're a old hat of the saga, it's kind of like, was she necessary? And then you go through like, yeah, she was. Absolutely. She's awesome. She's an incredible character. She's so well developed. She is, again, spoilers if you haven't seen any of the series, and if you haven't seen the series at this point, she originally was Anakin Skywalker's Padawan learner who, giving Anakin a Padawan was always a dangerous endeavor, to be sure, within the Jedi Order. But, they made it work. And it was a very interesting relationship that developed over the course of the Clone Wars animated series and was really expanded upon once Anakin fell. And we saw both characters come back within the other animated universes. Definitely curious to see how they expanded with her going into her own series, because it's my understanding that that's going to take place after the death of Darth Vader, which means we won't see live action Ahsoka interact with Vader like we did animated. But it was the moment where Ahsoka realizes who Vader is. I believe it was during either the end of the Clone Wars or one of the other animated series. You just go, it just guts your inside. It's horrible. I liken it to Obi-Wan's realization of who Vader is that we saw fully expanded upon in the Obi-Wan series. It was just like, because again, having come into Star Wars later in life, I was in my teens when they re-released the special editions in 1997, but I went all in once I saw those movies, and having seen the originals so many times now, and actually owning, thanks to an Etsy user, digital copies of the original prints, if you will, and watching those back as many times as I have, especially during May, because that's what we do in May here on the channel. They really fully formed the character of Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader. I'll get to him later, but just the repercussions of his fall are just so far-reaching, and Ahsoka definitely felt every bit of it. It was terrible to watch her go through that. And Ashley did a great job voicing the sorrow. It was just so good. Number 9 was only difficult because I love his counterpart so much as well. I still have a decent picture with the counterpart, but I did want to get them mentioned. Number 9 for me is R2-D2. Honorable mention of 3PO, of course, because 3PO is just awesome, and Daniels is awesome. But R2, this is going to sound way worse than it intended to. R2's like the Wesley Crusher of Star Wars. And let me, before we jumps on my ass for that.
Shut up, Wesley.
There's no reason this little astromech droid should be saving the damn day every time, but he does anyway. Especially the prequel trilogy. My God, like he is just all over saving everybody's ass in that particular 3-movie series. But it's every saga's got that one or two. Star Wars has about 100 characters that you just love, no matter what they do, no matter what, they're just there mostly for the ha-ha and the awe, but they're a major part of the story. And R2 was definitely, especially when you see his story, fleshed out in the prequel trilogy, where we first find out how he came into this, how he got sucked into the craziness, God bless him, trying to repair a ship. And, it just kind of goes from there. And we find out through the course of the prequel trilogy and reading on canon material that he didn't have his memory wiped at the end of Revenge of the Sith. So he knows everything that's going on. He knows who Vader is. He knows what has gone down before Luke Skywalker happens upon him in 3PO in A New Hope. So this little dude, this little blue guy is carrying all this stuff. And yes, he's a droid and, he's just doing his job. But we know this droid has feelings. We know he feels for all these characters. So throughout the course of however many years, 40-something years or whatever, he's carrying all of this. 50 years almost. Yeah, we'll just figure, we'll say roughly 60. We'll give it that time window. He's carrying all of this throughout the entire Skywalker saga, if you figure the 9 movies. So that's rough on a little guy to carry that much. And he still blazes through and gets the job done every single time. And you gotta admire the spunk. Even though Lou Grant hates spunk, I admire it, damn it. Love me some R2-D2. All right, number 8 was only difficult because I couldn't figure out which picture I wanted to use.
Okay.
There was a picture of me and my dad and my son with this character. There were a couple selfies that he took because he's big and scary, and if he wants to take a selfie, you tell him, yes, sir. But number 8 is the mighty Chewbacca. And no, this is not from yesterday. This was from a previous visit over to the Black Spire Outpost. Actually, that's right outside the Millennium Falcon, which he was trying to repair, and got a little suspicious of me sneaking around over there. So he demanded to take a picture to prove that I was there, and if anything went down, he would have evidence later. This is actually what his attendant told me, for real. So these dark side folks just don't seem to come off very well, apparently.
No.
Chewie again. Another guy that carries the load, man, right from Revenge of the Sith all the way through to the end. And I don't think I've ever cried near as much for a guttural reaction to somebody's passing as I did at Chewie's. Again, spoiler! When Han dies and when Leia passes at the end of Rise of Skywalker, because you see that he feels both in completely different ways, but he feels it, man. He is just rage and wants to shoot everything in sight when Kylo shanks Han Solo on that little walkway there. And then when Leia passes and Chewie feels it or is told she's passed, he almost collapses into himself and just kind of falls to the ground in complete sorrow and dismay. And it's like, damn, man, I know let the Wookiee win, but geez, let the Wookiee have a break from all this death. Because you figure in the sequel trilogy, he loses everybody that he grew to be close to in the confines of the Solo movie, which we don't talk about, and the original trilogy. Chewie lost everybody, and Peter Mayhew, and I forget the actor that played him in the sequel trilogy, so forgive me, sir, but he conveyed it, and he made you believe that this walking carpet was full of emotion and it was powerful. I'm getting crying now. It was powerful to the point where I see Chewie back at Batuu, and I know what he's going through because we're in the middle of the First Order era back there. So figure he's already lost Han in the context of the story being told at Galaxy's Edge. So this dude's got some shit weighing on him, right? So you feel for the guy. And it's again, it's crazy that so far the characters I've had on my list are not human beings per se, but you feel every bit of the humanity coming out of them when they deal with the tragedies and they deal with everything they're dealing with in the saga. So that's why this saga is what it is, and that's why it has endured for, as the Crawl said, over 45 years. Powerful shit, man. George Lucas, it was very clear he was, borrowing from the works of Shakespeare and Kurosawa and all these when he was doing these movies and writing these stories. So it comes through. massively.
Yes.
So number 7 is the first one I don't have the picture with, only because they haven't actually had him come out into the parks as a realized character yet. I don't think they will, because it'd be a challenge and a half. But you never know. Yoda, number 7, Master Yoda. Now, again, people are going to say, how can you rank Yoda so low? It's like, just patience. As Obi-Wan told him, Luke, in this movie, patience. You must have patience. And sacrifice the list? No, you're not going to sacrifice. It's okay. It's okay. Again, we meet Yoda officially in The Empire Strikes Back. We don't know who he is yet. And, he's testing Luke, because Luke is very much older than his father was when he went to the training. And we all saw how well somebody that was not trained from birth turned out at the end for Anakin, didn't we? So Yoda was naturally cautious about bringing somebody into this new Jedi order that was possibly going to take place after Luke's training, and because he had observed Luke from afar, and he definitely saw his father's impatience in him, much like he told Obi-Wan that he saw, Qui-Gon's stubbornness in him at the end of Phantom Menace. Yoda was not the Grand Master just because he was, short and could, bite your ankles and kick your ass at lightsabers. He was a wise dude. So
what happens when you're performed by Frank Oz?
Well, and it's funny, going through the research and making my list. It's like, man, Frank Oz, and let's just give it for the Henson kids, for real, because they took what could have been a throwaway, Muppet, for lack of a better term, and just made you believe that this guy was the most powerful guy you were going to see in this particular facet of the story, because he held Luke's destiny in his hands, these little bitty hands, and got Luke where he needed to be, and reminded Luke that he was already where he needed to be when he returned to him in Return of the Jedi, which is 40 years old this year. I always forget that Return of the Jedi is actually a couple months younger than me, but it's crazy that it's 40 years this year. They actually just did a screening about a week and a half ago in different parts of the country. So I almost went, but it's like, got a big TV, nice big print of it right here. Don't need to spend any more money on Disney. Lord knows I spent enough on my paycheck on that damn brand. Anyway,
After your bosses don't hear you say that.
Hey, you know what? They knew what they had going in. I've spent you should see over here what we got over here with the freaking Mickey merch. Anyway, but we'll talk about Mickey later in the year, won't we, Noah Foster? Anyway. Where's let me put on my evil Emperor hood again, because that was a pretty evil habit. I didn't mean to. Anyway, Yoda is the ultimate symbol of what is right about the Jedi Order. There's no wavering with him. He is good, and he won't suffer from impertinence or bullshit or talking back to. He's like, no, this is the way it needs to be. But he can also inject a little bit of humor. The scene in Attack of the Clones where Obi-Wan's trying to find Kamino, and Master Obi-Wan has lost a planet. How embarrassing. And the youngins just chuckle. And it's just like, God damn, Yoda, why you gotta be a dick for? Just find my planet, dude.
That was a pretty good impersonation of him, too.
Again, being around you and hearing the inflections of the Muppeteers, you kind of get your shit in a little bit. But yes, I've always loved Yoda. I was tickled to death when they released that toy that, allowed Yoda to train your own youngling into the ways of the Force. And there's video on my Facebook to this day of Dylan learning from Yoda, and even his mother, who was, doesn't like anything and is cynical as all get out, was saying, I want one of those. I mean, Yoda's just such an endurable, lovable character. It's like, get the freaking Grand Master teaching your kid how to lightsaber battle and use the Force, and sure as shit he did it when he went to the park, man. He blew those stormtroopers right back, man. So Yoda, I acknowledge you, Yoda, as the true Grand Master.
And then, of course, your son turned Sith and kicked him over.
Yeah, well, you know, something dark side. It is what it
He
is.
saw the cookies.
He did. And you know what though? If the cookies I had on the dark side are half as good as the cookies our buddy Lex made for Santa Meach, then you can understand why we turned. It is what it is, folks. All right, number 6 is somebody that has been there from the beginning, much like most of these characters so far, except for Ahsoka. But we've seen his evolution much more fleshed out in the prequel trilogy and then in the original series dedicated to him, Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's a horrible render of Sir Alec Guinness. My apologies, sir. Looks like shit. Anyway, again, you think Obi-Wan is just the wise old man trying to, you know, keep things straight in the original trilogy, and then you go back and watch the prequel trilogy and you go, man, he was impulsive, he was reckless, he was, you know, very much what Luke was described as when he went to Yoda, and then he endures the loss of his master at the hands of Darth Maul, who we'll also talk about later, I'm sure, and has to grow up very quickly at the end of Phantom Menace and take on this massive undertaking of training this boy who, for all intents and purposes, is too old to be trained, too, you know, far entrenched into his own life, his own way of thinking, because it's clear that he is the chosen one. He is the one that will bring balance to the Force. He is the one that will right the universe. And it's on Obi-Wan to shape this person into what he needs to be, or more importantly, what the Jedi Order needs him to be to save the galaxy, if we're being clear. Because Anakin was always his own person, and we found that out later. Very much so. And then after the fall, and we see the series that was premiered on Disney Plus last year, and Obi-Wan having to, you know, observe Luke from afar and being ostracized by the Skywalker, you know, the in-laws, and, you know, having to protect Leia almost from afar, and all the suffering he's dealing with internally. And like I said earlier, the realization that Anakin had not died on Mustafar, that he had become this thing that he would have to battle again. And Ewan McGregor did an amazing job of bridging the gap between the battle on Mustafar and the confrontation on the Death Star. He did an amazing amount of work in, you know, connecting those 2 points with the battles during the Obi-Wan series. And I hope we get more of that. Maybe we don't need it because, again, spoiler, the end of the limited series sees the spirit of Qui-Gon Jinn finally appearing to Obi-Wan after all the years that he had been told he would appear, and he goes into the further training, and we see that he is reconciled to a point with the Lars family, and, you know, allowed to say hello there to Luke at the very end of the series. So I just thought that Obi-Wan, you know, again, you see him in the original trilogy, he's the crazy old hermit, whatever, but man, he is arguably the most important solo, not Han Solo, but singular babyface good guy within the universe of Star Wars, for my money.
Okay.
And I say singular for a reason. We'll get there. Number 5, the inspiration behind my background and my appearance today. The Emperor, the Chancellor, the Senator, the Dark Lord of the Sith, Sidious, and Chief Palpatine. I mean, he is the straw that stirs the drink, brother. At the end of the day, he is the reason we are all sitting here talking about all of this. He is the one that started the machine, the engine that unleashed the Clone Wars. I almost said Cold War. That's how old my ass is. I'm talking about freaking battle with Russia. Jesus Christ. I tirade. Don't mind me. Unleashed the Clone Wars upon the galaxy. just for the purposes of taking over the entire galaxy himself. Because the Sith had been done, in their eyes, dirty by the Republic, by the Jedi Order, and forced into hiding and fought amongst themselves. And, Darth Bane, thank goodness for Darth Bane, getting things under control and bringing things down to that infamous rule of two that we always talk about within the Sith. And, Palpatine, much like everybody before him, it's like you advance through promotion by murder. That's what it is. But then he, unlike his master, unlike everybody before him, was patient. So patient. And waited and cultivated every opportunity into furthering his master plan to take over and conquer the entire galaxy through brute force, through mental manipulation. I mean, God, he takes this little boy, that we see in Phantom Menace, that we see develop into a older but teenager in Attack of the Clones, and just twists him around into betraying his own. And, I still say there's a reason Sam Jackson says motherfucker every time on screen, because, man, he got blasted out that window. So I'd be pissed off too if I was Mace Windu, just a little bit. And then we all know what's going to happen to Anakin at the end of this movie, because we've seen the original trilogy. We know what he becomes, and it's like, how do we get here? And it was because of Palpatine twisting Anakin's mind so that he got too big for his own britches, and that's why he ended up losing that battle in the lava with Obi-Wan. And you see at the end of Revenge of the Sith that Anakin seemingly has lost everything. He's lost Padme. He thinks his child is gone, and he's raging, destroying the room. And in the corner, you see Palpatine just smile, that evil smile. He's like, I got him. And for the next, whatever it is, 30 years, he rules the galaxy, or 20 years, whatever it is. And then we think he's gone because of what happens at the end of Return of the Jedi. And then, nope, just kidding. He's been hiding out and living off clone technology for the better part of 3 decades. And then we get the final battle at the end of Rise of Skywalker, and Rey, who I'm sure will be brought up later, to her credit, finally defeats who ends up being her grandfather, which is crazy. Whole other subplot there in the sequel trilogy. But if not for Palpatine engineering the Clone Wars, we don't get the Skywalker saga. So that's why he's so important. Now, the reason Palpatine is 5 and not higher when I say he's important is because 4, 3, 2 are a tie for second. Here's my cop-out. Because I couldn't rank one over the other. I just couldn't, between Luke, Leia, and Han. Because I feel, personally, that each one of them is as important to the story as the other. Just my own personal opinion. And again, this is, coming from a guy that came into the dance 20 years after the fact, because I was younger. And grew up a Star Trek person, so I didn't really immerse myself into the Star Wars saga up until the late 90s, and even more so now. But we don't get the entirety of the saga without telling the story of the original trilogy, and these three are very much so. Luke Skywalker, the innocent farm boy who knows he is the son of a Jedi, or a fallen Jedi, and not fallen, former deceased Jedi. He didn't know he fell. And Princess Leia, who is, for all she knows, the Princess of Alderaan, raised by the Organas and a senator, and trying to fight the good fight against the evil empire. And Han Solo, that scruffy looking nerf herder of a scoundrel who, is just trying to make his way through and trying to, pay off some debts before he gets his ass locked up and, maybe frozen in carbonite or some shit. Who knows with Han Solo? You never know what's going to happen to him. But you fall in love with these characters because they're human beings. You really get sucked into their story, and you really feel what they feel when they're dealing with everything. Luke, wants nothing more than to be somebody, than to be important, than to make a difference and, do as his father did and make a impact within the galaxy. Goes off to find Obi-Wan, or, goes off to seek adventure and, be impulsive, loses his uncle and aunt, who is all he's ever known in his life, and makes a decision to, all right, well, I got nothing here, might as well go. And it's like, to be fair, you lived in a sand planet, so did you have anything to begin with? It's, Tatooine's kind of a shithole.
He had Mos Eisley.
I said what I said. He was a little young for Mos Eisley, to be fair. 16 years old, little shady to be in the up in the cantina. So
Did I or did I not see him sitting at a table there drinking blue milk?
Hey, that was the bartender's lack of clarity there. And to be fair, the blue milk probably a little more suspect back in 1977 than it is in 2023, because they actually make it pretty safe here now.
I was just saying, like I didn't see no bouncers carding him.
No, that's true. They didn't, but they did kick out his droids. That's for sure. We don't serve droids here. So that's discrimination. That's wrong.
Right?
That's profiling. That is wrong. I couldn't even get through it. Okay. And then Leia, who again, she's for all she knows, she's just fighting the good fight, having no idea how involved she really is. Even knowing what we know now and going back and seeing how, her early life was shaped by the interference and the machinations of Obi-Wan Kenobi, saving her butt more than once. And to be fair, saving her own skin more than once in the series and in the movies. She became a fully developed, fleshed out heroine at the end of the original trilogy. And man, she is the driving force behind this resistance against this new First Order in the sequel trilogy. And I don't know if Carrie hadn't passed, if they wouldn't have had Leia pass too. I don't know if that would have been a thing, because she was so important. At the same time, with the original idea being we have to not sweep away the old guard, but make a clean break and a transition, they probably would have found a way to kill her off without actually having Carrie have to freaking die.
From what I remember reading, and I don't know how accurate this is, so take it with a grain of salt.
Of course.
But from what I remember reading, Luke was originally supposed to die in Rise of the Skywalker.
Okay.
And Leia was supposed to die in The Last Jedi.
Ah, okay.
But with Carrie's passing, they kind of flipped it.
Right.
And worked the way so that it didn't seem like it was so ill-timed within the continuity of the story.
Right. Yeah, because Last Jedi was released after she had passed, and was like, okay, well, it's obvious they're gonna kill her off now. And what's really funny about that is, I forget if it was the beginning of Last Jedi or the other one. It may have been Last Jedi. Princess or General Organa gets sucked out of the spaceship, and you're like, oh shit, like this is it right here. And then nope, survives the whole thing. Like, oh, okay. It had to have been Last Jedi. Because they were running away from the First Order. So I just found that it was kind of tickled by that. I was like, oh geez, okay, they're gonna kill her off right here, and then nope, she survived to the very end of the last one. It's like, oh, well, there you go. I didn't mention Yoda earlier. Yoda's return in Last Jedi was so good with Luke. Luke's just like done. He's burning shit. He's getting ready to be done with everything. And Yoda goes, "I'll help you." Hey, wait a minute. So I just thought that was funnier than hell. And again, God bless Frank Oz for coming back and doing the voice one more time, because that was just a great little cherry on the sundae, if you will.
Yeah.
But then Han Solo, again, the movie about him notwithstanding, because God.
Yeah.
It was what it was, folks. They tried. Here's your Bart cake. Seriously, we own him too. So there's your Bart cake. Harrison Ford as Han Solo, just good stuff.
See, and I think that was the biggest issue with the Solo movie, is that Han Solo and Lando Calrissian are so defined by Harrison Ford and Billy D. Williams, respectively,
Yes.
that seeing anybody else in those roles
Yes.
is just hard from Jump Street.
It is. It really is.
And
It's
then with
unfortunate.
the exception of the scenes where Han meets Lando and Han gets possession of the Falcon,
right?
Do we really need the rest of that movie? I mean, the whole movie, he's trying to get, and save this girl that he loves, just to within a matter of months or even a year, timeline wise, he's pining for Princess Leia. It's like, obviously, she didn't mean that much to you, homie.
Right? Because figure the end of Solo was when he's going on the run with Jabba. That's going to cost him, him the carbon freeze. So and what was really, I guess, unfortunate about Solo performing so badly at the box office is we get the return of Darth Maul in that movie, and it's like, okay, now what? And then nothing.
Yep.
And no reference to the character, the woman you referred to. It was just ill executed. It wasn't ill conceived because they had, they wanted to flesh out the character. It just didn't come off well.
No.
But I'll tell you what, not being a Star Wars fan before in my life until, I saw the movies later, when he and Kylo are on that walkway and they're approaching each other, Dylan can vouch for this because he actually saw Force Awakens in the theater with me. When they're approaching, they're talking, I'm sitting here clutching my chair going, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. And what's wrong, Daddy? I said, I didn't want to say that out loud because I didn't want to ruin it because I didn't know because I hadn't read spoilers, but I knew it was going to happen.
I've got a bad feeling about this, son.
Exactly. And when that lightsaber ignited and went, like, I screamed louder than Chewie. No! And Dylan was like, wait, what? Because he was 7 at the time. So he was just, I'm like, yeah. And he goes, why? I said, because storytelling and drama, that's okay. It's happening, but it needs to happen. And of course, we know it needed to happen because of how it played out with Ben. But, oh, God, I'm getting emotional now. These 3 characters without Luke Skywalker and Princess Leia, General Organa, and Han Solo, we don't get the attachment to these stories that we do. That's just the end of this because there are protagonists, there are heroes.
At least for the original trilogy,
yes. But again, if the originals aren't as successful and iconic as they became,
I know
we don't get Phantom Menace in '99. We don't get Disney wanting to gobble them up like we have everybody else.
I concede that, but
So if the trio is tied for 2, who else can number 1 be for me? Then the fallen hero, the man who redeems himself at the end of basically the start of my life. When you think about how long ago it was, Jesus. Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader. I put Anakin here because when we last see him, he's Anakin Skywalker. So go with that. I mean, we had been told for years that the Star Wars story was the story of Luke Skywalker, and it's like, no, not exactly. And then it was the rise, fall, redemption of Anakin Skywalker. And it's like, yeah, that's a little bit closer now. And if you just count the original 6 movies, then yeah, that's how it is. Rise, fall, redemption. The sequel trilogy kind of made it about the Skywalker line as a whole, and the battle, the true battle between good and evil. But at the end of the day, the Skywalker line is because of Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader, because he was conceived out of midichlorians.
Yeah.
There was no Skywalker father. So the Skywalker line continues because he survived, and everything that happens in the saga, at least the 9 movies, is directly or indirectly tied to Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader. His discovery in Phantom Menace, the loss of his mother in Attack of the Clones, his relationship with Padme blooming in Attack of the Clones, which again, people shit on that, but the more I watch, the more I go, you know what, this is better than people say. God damn it. His complete fall from grace in Revenge of the Sith, his appearance in Rogue One, which, man, Rogue One really hit home for me. Rogue One was probably the best one I saw in the theaters first run. It was damn good. And he just whooped that ass in Rogue One. It was amazing. And of course, the tale throughout the original trilogy and his influence on Kylo Ren and throughout the sequel trilogy. And every time you see him on screen in any of the TV series, in the animated series, anytime you see this giant hulking figure in the parks, I mean, I'm not a tall man by any means. I'm only about 5'7", 5'8". This is a big mother hugger. So it is what it is. He's an imposing figure, but you realize through watching these movies, watching these stories, listening to these stories, retelling these stories to your children, to your grandchildren, to your family, that he is arguably the most iconic character that I know of that is not in one of my quote unquote core fandoms. Back to the Future, Star Trek, professional wrestling. I think Anakin / Vader is the greatest character in these stories, in this saga, and that's why he's number one for me.
Except he is in Back to the Future. Darth Vader from the planet Vulcan comes to visit George McFly.
This is fair. This is fair. And somehow Michael J. Fox seems scarier than this giant David Prowse guy when he's standing over George McFly's bed. So there you go.
I mean, I think it's because it was the 50s and the radiation suit, to be honest, but you know.
Probably, yeah, because Michael J. Fox is kind of a small guy. So you know, but then again, I forgot his name. I'm gonna die. The actor who played George.
Crispin Glover.
Crispin Glover. God, that's awful. You know, Crispin Glover wasn't exactly a giant human being either. So you know, and he's laying in bed, so he's good. But yeah, for me, the discussion of greatest characters in the history of Star Wars starts and ends with Vader, Anakin.
Okay.
I said,
as you noticed, I didn't speak a whole hell of a lot because in some way, shape, or form, we share everybody but Ahsoka Tano. So
wow. Damn. All right.
But like I did say, I took the cheap way out in a few ways.
Okay.
So there's still going to be a good amount of characters on my list that weren't on your list.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, you pretty much went the road I expected you to go because of you not being as rooted in the galaxy far, far away as I am.
Yeah. Full disclosure.
I very easily could have gone the non-mainstream character route like you went and probably given us a whole other 10 characters.
Right.
But I feel like there's going to be enough difference because of the cheap way out I took with some of these. It's going to go good.
Well, but before we throw the break and reveal your list, I will say, full disclosure, my plan was almost insidious when I actually named the show today. Because I did say characters in a galaxy far, far away originally. I was going to go starter characters and just totally throw you off. And have you do Star Wars just to be that guy. But I'm like,
you would.
I totally would. I would be straight up evil Palpatine and like not give a shit. I'm like, no, I really want to focus on Star Wars because, of course, yesterday was the holy day, if you will, for all of us. So
and today is the revenge of
the Sith, and you know, there you go. But tomorrow and throughout the rest of the year, it's the revenge of the Meech because there's too many damn watch-alongs to be told here.
Damn right. So take a look at everything that's going to be covered on the multiverse of media, beginning with tomorrow's Backlash, going up through WrestleMania 40. This is just what has been announced so far. I'm sure there's still going to be a ton of stuff added to this.
Looking at you, Impact.
But can only advertise what we know. Check it out.
So yes, that is the schedule for us on the watch-alongs and the Jeff Meacham Network Multiverse of Media because, well, we don't enjoy sleep here in the multiverse. So it's, and if we do enjoy it, we have a funny way of showing it.
At the end of the day, we're just a glutton for punishment.
That's very accurate as well. Considering that both of us are in our 40s, it's kind of like, are we ever going to sleep ever again until the day after WrestleMania 40? Probably not, but that's okay. And then again, I'll probably going back there for WrestleMania, so it won't be till the plane ride the day after that we get to sleep at all. But
and then we start it all over again.
And then that's right. It's where it all begins again. God help us all. No more WrestleMania 20. It was still good. It just no one will touch it.
Where it all begins again.
That's right. Again and again and again. With that being said,
again.
Again, I feel like this is definitely more your wheel. I know on our wrestling shows you go second anyway because that's what we agreed upon. But man, I am looking forward to this. I know you said you cheated on your list or took some cop-outs, if you will, but the fact that you gave me the praise you gave before we threw to that commercial, I'm definitely curious where you're at with your top 10 and your honorable mentions because I did want to talk about those as well. So,
I mean, like I stated at the outset, this was a lot more difficult for me than I had anticipated.
Right.
Not in the same way that the villains one was, because at the end of the day, as we stated numerous times, we don't watch TV dramas. So there's not a whole lot of villains in our wheelhouse.
No.
But man, ever since my uncle gave me the homemade VHS with all 3 episodes on it, Star Wars: A New Hope, Empire, and Jedi.
Wow.
I have been such a fan of this. I grew up with the Ewok movies. I grew up with the Ewok and Droid cartoon series. I grew up watching Mark Hamill and Luke Skywalker on The Muppet Show.
Yes.
It's just something that's been embedded in my DNA. I have been the go-to Jedi or Sith Lord, depending on my mood for that day, by the majority of my friends.
Accurate. You and Bruce, brother.
So it's just so hard to narrow.
Yes.
13 movies.
Yeah.
We count the Ewok ones.
Yeah.
Plus the numerous cartoon series.
Yes.
Plus the Disney Plus series. Plus the books.
Yeah.
Down to 10. Now, I haven't read that many books for the expanded canon.
Okay.
So I eliminated majority of that.
Right.
I've never seen the Clone Wars cartoon or some of the other cartoons that came.
Oh, okay.
So all that's eliminated for me.
Fair.
I basically tried to just stick with the movies.
Okay.
For the most part. Now there are a couple of mentions of people outside of that. But majority of my list is from the movies because I don't have the frame of reference.
Well, of course.
10 and 9 being my only exceptions as far as movies only. Although number 10 for me is referenced in a movie. And it comes off as a throwaway line. Have you ever heard of the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
Ooh, look at you with the reach. I love it.
That one line,
right,
was enough that it made me go and buy the book.
Oh no! Oh yeah, that's a good reference for real. Like it's a cool piece, man.
Now, I haven't finished it because I'm
Right.
not a huge reader.
Yeah.
I did buy it. I did crack it open. I did start reading it, and I was enjoying it, but I'm the type of guy that puts it down and then forgets to pick it back up.
Okay.
That's just who I am.
No, I get that.
But
Absolutely.
that throwaway line was enough to intrigue me about the man that was Palpatine's master. The man who essentially is Anakin's father.
That's a great correlation, and I agree with it.
So I had to get him on this list because the fact that a throwaway line could make me go and buy a book to read to get knowledge about this character.
Yes.
Says a lot.
It is. Like I said, you're not a huge reader by choice. That's just who you are. I will say though, I forget what the context of the in universe is, so forgive me. But the Red Sith book that I picked up along the way that essentially was collected by Darth Sidious and then recovered by Luke Skywalker after the events on Endor, over the forest moon of Endor, on the Death Star, is a great little reference piece too, and includes quite a bit on Plagueis. So there is that. Recommend that for sure.
Number 9 for me, I had originally put the number 7.
Oh.
But I felt like I had to switch it around just because of the fact that I haven't seen the entirety of the show that this character comes from.
Okay.
But I've seen enough that he warranted a spot on my list.
Huh.
Number 9 on my list, Grogu.
Oh, yes.
Effectively known as Baby Yoda to the master.
Right. Which for us in Disney and those in universe, it's like, no, his name is Grogu. Stop. So but yeah, everybody, even you who is a fan, it's like, no, it's Baby Yoda. It's okay. So, because he looks like Yoda.
It's hard for me to call him Grogu because it's such a weird sounding name. And granted, Star Wars characters have weird names.
Lord
Hamis. Like, you see him in his introduction in The Mandalorian, and you're like, oh, it's a Baby Yoda.
Right.
You know, is it possible this is Yoda's baby?
Right? We don't know.
And it's like, no, his name is Grogu, blah, blah, blah. And then we kind of get the backstory about how Ahsoka Tano saw him in the Jedi Temple during, the events of Revenge of the Sith.
Yep.
And Anakin's slaughter of the younglings,
right?
Where nobody blamed the lightsaber. But I digress. Grogu is just such a cute and fun character.
Yes.
That from what I have seen of him,
yes,
he has reached the level that I think everybody wanted the Ewoks to reach.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But the Ewoks came off as kind of annoying.
Yes.
Whereas Grogu has the cuteness factor, the Ewoks, to some of us, over time, come off more like the Minions.
Oh, God, yes. Yeah, I agree with that. See, I always like the Ewoks. I even have a stuffed Ewok somewhere in the catacombs of one of these houses. But
when I was a kid, I loved the Ewoks.
Right.
The older I get, the more I subscribe to the Clerks philosophy of Return of the Jedi just being a movie with a bunch of fucking Muppets.
Damn.
And I'm a Muppet aficionado.
I was going to say, you're a fan of both, and you're even giving this shit. Wow,
I'm just saying, like, because the Ewoks took over the movie and not in a good way.
Yeah. And considering they had their own two,
I was going to say, it's one thing to steal a movie and do it in a positive way.
Yeah.
They took the movie over like a bunch of cockroaches.
Yeah, they really did. I agree with that. Which is why people don't talk near as well about Return of the Jedi as they do the other two. So,
especially when you get the news that it was supposed to be Kashyyyk and it was supposed to be Wookiees, not Wookiee midgets.
Right.
Just saying. Stop me when I'm wrong. CM
I
Punk,
no, you're good, man.
Like you said, we're filming in advance. Last night we were at the Allstate Arena in Chicago, Illinois. Stop me when I'm wrong.
Hey, you know what? So was he. So there was that. If you know, you know, folks. Last 2 weeks. Anyway, yeah, it's like I said. I don't disagree with the philosophy on the Ewoks. It's just, yeah, they kind of took over, and they didn't need to because they ended up getting their own series. They ended up, freaking getting, their 2 movies on their own. It's like, man, let the core characters have this one.
Yeah.
And like I said, it makes Return of the Jedi not shit on because it's still a wonderful story and it's a great conclusion to the original trilogy, but it definitely is lesser than A New Hope and certainly lesser than Empire.
Number 8 is arguably my favorite character from the prequel series.
Oh.
But he's not the only member of the prequel series to show up on my list.
Interesting.
Darth Maul. I adore Darth Maul.
As you should.
I adore Darth Maul so much that in the fall of the year 2000, when I did Shipwreck on the Queen Mary,
yes,
I had them paint my face in Darth Maul makeup.
Yes, you did. I remember that. I remember seeing pictures. I didn't know you back then, but
he was just such a badass character, much like somebody else who will come up a little bit later. But he met such a bullshit demise.
Oh my God, right?
Although I've always had a theory, not Austin, we're not going 8-town down here, but I've always had a theory about Darth Maul that, while I don't know if it's been proven or debunked, I like to hold in my heart as canon.
Okay.
You think about the final duel between him and Obi-Wan. You think about how Obi-Wan chops his saber in half. And when he dies, he falls with one half of the saber. Palpatine finds the other one, and that becomes Vader's saber.
Makes sense to me.
I mean, the battle's on Naboo. Palpatine's the senator for Naboo.
Yep.
It only makes sense that he would have access to every corridor within that place.
True.
You don't think he wouldn't find that just lying around?
That's a fair point. And again, I haven't seen the entirety of Clone Wars. I do know he comes back, of course. I do know they flesh out the story a lot with him, with Maul, but I don't know if they ever explained the lightsaber stuff. So I'll have to go back and rewatch that.
So that has always been my theory.
I love it. I co-sign on it until I'm proven otherwise. I love it. I dig it the most.
Number 7 may get me some shit.
Oh, here we go.
But I think you will even agree that it is the worst politician ever, and that includes number 45.
Oh my God. Yeah, oh Lord.
At the end of the day, Jar Jar Binks is responsible for starting a war. Donald Trump never started one.
No, he just decided an insurrection. But anyway, I digress. Please, I digress on that one, Lord.
But Jar Jar Binks, and again, I know I'm going to get some crap on this one because a lot of people factor Jar Jar as one of the worst characters ever.
Period. Yeah.
But I just can't hold him in that regard because I always look at him the way I've described to you for years.
Yep.
Without Jar Jar in the Phantom Menace,
yep,
we do not discover that we have the technology that is used for Yoda in Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith.
Yep.
And specifically for his lightsaber duels against Count Dooku and Palpatine, respectively.
Yep.
Jar Jar is our template for that.
Yep.
to have a fully fleshed out computerized character. And yes, Ahmad Best walked around the set with a Jar Jar head on top of his head for perspective and camera shots, and so that everybody had someone to still interact with.
Yes.
But once it got into post, it became a completely computerized character.
Yep.
And without the success, for better or worse, of that character, there is no lightsaber battle with Yoda.
Nope.
Period. That's the tweet.
Yep. You're right.
And a lot more credit needs to be given to Jar Jar,
yes,
if for nothing else, but for the technological advancements that he allowed
yes,
in the process.
There is a character preceding Jar Jar that I don't know if he's on your list or not, but if he does come up, I will bring up his involvement in that lineage, if you will, of technology. But I'll see if you go there or not.
Okay. Number 6, we come to the halfway point on my list. And this is my other badass who met a horrid, stupid fate.
Yes.
Boba Fett.
Oh, man. I'm so glad these. Yeah.
And yes, I know he comes back in The Mandalorian. I know he has his own series, The Book of Boba Fett. I know according to the books, he escapes the Sarlacc pit. But again, I can only go off of what I have seen.
Right.
And the way Boba Fett goes out in Return of the Jedi is a punk.
He goes out like a bitch, flat out.
Yeah.
It's awful.
I mean, he doesn't even get like a legitimate battle for his demise.
Nope.
Han accidentally hits his rocket pack and he goes flying and crashing into the side of the sail barge and falls into the Sarlacc pit.
Bullshit. Oh.
Arguably one of the greatest characters of that original trilogy, because when you first see him in Empire Strikes Back, not the special editions, but when you first see him in The Empire Strikes Back, he is just this cold, heartless, menacing, almost on par with Vader as far as diabolical, just don't give a F.
Nope.
You know? What if he dies? He means a lot to me.
Yeah. He's worth more to me. He's not worth as much to me dead. It's like, you'll be compensated. And he's like, all right. Like, damn, that's cold, brother. And what I love about Boba is the tale of his origin, where we first meet him.
Yes.
Is the only reason that this company has acknowledged the holiday special so far.
Right?
They haven't shown it on Disney Plus, and that'll never happen. But
never say never.
Well, it's yeah. That's
honestly,
that's true.
I feel like Disney is enough about the money that if a grassroots campaign swelled up to demand the release in a Blu-ray or something,
yeah,
an official Disney release, where they knew that by throwing it out there in the marketplace for $19.99 or $24.99 a pop,
right,
they would make more than enough money off of it. They would do it.
That's fair. But in either case, even if they don't, the fact that the Boba Fett cartoon, the story within the story, got a little mention first broadcast, and I was like, they did the thing, they said the words. So God bless Boba, man.
So that's the first half of my list.
Okay.
And my next 3 are going to be my cop-outs.
Here we go.
Each one is a cop-out.
Okay.
Because like I said, it's just so difficult.
It is. It is.
Number 5 for me is the Jedi Council.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because there's so many good Jedi on that council.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you could single Yoda out, but like Mace Windu, Plo Koon, you've got Obi-Wan, who eventually becomes a member of the council, although he's kind of lumped into another cop-out in a little bit.
Oh boy.
You've got Qui-Gon in there. You've got so many great Jedis there, and it's just like getting to see the High Council there.
Yeah.
On Coruscant, that first time in the Phantom Menace.
Right.
Like, whoa.
It
And
was.
you think
it
about
was a
it,
moment.
and if you think about it, it's the only time we saw the entirety of the High Jedi Council. Because come Attack of the Clones, we started to see hologram Jedis.
Right.
Because they're all fighting the fight.
Right. Yep.
So that one scene is the only time we see the entire Jedi Council.
Yep. It was again, as a longtime fan, even a fan who's really fallen in love with the story. It was a cool moment going back and looking at it, and hearing Qui-Gon be on the council. He wasn't such a stubborn prick. It's like, yeah, but he needed to be for reasons that we find out later.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a cool deal. It's very much akin to the first time in the Star Trek universe we see San Francisco as Starfleet headquarters and the United Federation of Planet, building. It's just like, oh, that's pretty cool. So just a lot of cool little things that you don't really think about as a kid or think about when you first watched it. It's like, you know what? That was the first time we saw that shit. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. In retrospect, in hindsight, that one moment is the equivalent of the scene of the Avengers when all 6 of them are finally there doing
Right?
New York.
Yes, exactly.
It's the equivalent of Wonder Woman joining Batman and Superman in Dawn of Justice.
Yes.
And you don't think about it as that at the time, especially not in 1999.
No.
Yeah, not in 1999. You don't think about that.
Yeah.
But the more you look at it in retrospect, the more you're like, dude, that was kind of one of those first moments.
Yep.
You didn't realize it was.
Yeah.
But it was.
It was. Cool little thread in there that you don't really have to kind of dive deep in your brain on, but once you realize it, it's like,
Number 4 for me, my second cop-out. The Skywalker women.
I'm okay with that too. I really am.
But Renegade, Rey's a Palpatine. How does she introduce herself at the end of Rise of Skywalker?
That's right. Rey Skywalker, damn it.
But each one of them is badass in their own respective way.
Yes.
When we first start A New Hope, we think Leia is just going to be the damsel in distress. Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope. We got to save the princess.
Right? Yeah.
Princess? What princess? And then we free her, and we start to see some of that Leia sass.
Right?
And we realize she can hold her own.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Little short for a stormtrooper, aren't you? Into the garbage chute, flyboy.
You just walking carpet out of my way. Like, damn, bitch, I guess.
She has no problem snatching that gun from Han's hand and taking charge.
Yep. She's a badass.
Amidala, Padme. Again, we first meet her as this young queen of the planet.
14 young.
And it's like, come the end of the movie, she's got a blaster in hand and she is fighting to defend her planet.
Yep.
And then Rey.
Oh, my goodness.
I wonder, because we don't know who Rey's parents are.
No.
And Palpatine was Plagueis's Padawan.
Yeah.
Did Palpatine create Rey with the midichlorians?
Right?
Like Plagueis created Anakin? We don't know.
Yeah, all 3 of the, at the end of the day, Skywalker women, by marriage or otherwise, are badasses. And I have zero problem with the cop-out, as you call it, because it makes total sense.
All right. Here's my last cop-out. And this one isn't as defined as the other 2 were.
Okay.
But I'm going with it anyway.
All right.
It is the first flight of the Falcon crew.
Okay.
We've already touched on Obi-Wan, so he's just kind of there for the image because that's a great freaking image.
Yeah, it is.
But we've already done Leia. We got Han and Luke there. You know, again, so important to the story.
Yes.
Han, if I'm ranking the ones that you did as the cop-out, personally, I would probably put Han 4, Leia 3, Luke 2.
That's fair.
If I was doing it in the confines of how you did it.
Right. Yeah.
Especially because for a good whole movie, if you figure half of Empire, half a Jedi, Han's frozen in carbonite.
Right.
And then for half of the first movie, he's, you know, a prick who doesn't want anything to do but help himself.
Right.
But you take those two out of it now, and then you look at Chewie, R2, and 3PO in the back there.
Yes.
And Chewbacca, man, like, is there any more loyal creature in the Star Wars galaxy than Chewbacca?
No, man, not at all.
Like, even when Han is being a dick and Chewie knows he's being a dick, he still rolls with his buddy because he kind of feels like he owes him.
Right. And at the same time, when Han gets shit from Leia, Chewie chuckles, laugh it up, fuzzball.
Yeah. C-3PO, probably the most annoying character that is not an Ewok.
Damn.
But also one of the most integral characters as he was created by Anakin Skywalker.
Right? Which was such a cool little thing in the first Phantom Menace. That was like, hey, wait a minute. That was a cool moment.
And R2, I mean, R2 is my girlfriend's favorite character.
That's awesome.
He is arguably the most foul-mouthed character in the history of movie history. Everything he says is bleeped. You know, it's... And you talk about how the little droid shows his emotion even still. You kind of wonder why he never told Luke that Vader was his father. Like, that's kind of a dick move.
Yeah.
And CC pointed something out to me logic-wise the other day, and it was like, that kind of makes sense. When R2 first meets Luke, he has the restraining bolt on him. The restraining bolt acts kind of like a firewall. So while his memory hasn't been erased, it limits his memory. Think about it. All he can show is part of the message of Leia, not the entire message.
Okay.
So the restraining bolt may have limited that part of things.
But then when
at
they came
least
off,
in the very beginning. By the time we get to Dagobah, and Luke and R2 have this relationship, having gone through the Battle of Yavin and everything, it's like, hey, you could have told him on the flight to Dagobah to see this Master Yoda. It's like, oh, by the way, the dude whose Death Star that you blew up, yeah, that's your dad, homie.
Right?
You just destroyed his house.
Yeah. But no, he didn't. Yeah, so yeah, it's like damn, R2.
R2 is always one of those characters where he just kind of walks this line, and while he's definitely on the good side, he's definitely a product of the rebellion. Kind of like Jar Jar in a sense. Like, there's some shady stuff that he does that's like, man, are you sure you're not working for both sides? Are you sure you're not a Sith?
Yeah. And I try to, rationalize in my own brain is he didn't tell Luke for a couple of reasons. One, he couldn't bring himself to bring that poor farm boy down. Number two, much like Obi-Wan tried to bullshit his way out of the explanation in Jedi, he had to learn for himself. He had to find out. He had to learn for himself and have that part of his growth of his life and his character. Otherwise, he probably wouldn't have got to where he needed to be by the end of Return of the Jedi, and the ability to defeat him and still not succumb to the dark side. That's the way I look at it, just to make sure I don't think of R2 as a thing. Boom, kick him over. What a dick! Because if I see the parts, I'd be like, what the shit, R2?
I mean,
Why?
and it's
Why?
possible that when he first saw Obi-Wan on Tatooine while Luke was KO'd,
right,
Obi-Wan may have said something to R2.
True. Or said something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Stuff to think about.
Things that make you go, especially in Star Wars, because they do that a lot.
So that's it for my cop-outs.
Okay, good.
You understand now why I had those as cop-outs.
And by the way, the one shot of the Falcon, that is such a cooler, much more cool shot now that you can walk into that thing and sit right there. Because seeing that for the first time, I was like, damn, this is some original trilogy shit right here. This is pretty awesome. I'm not going to lie. So just be able to sit there and take that picture. And then the picture of my aunt and I and everybody else I've taken since then in the pilot, in the cockpit, it's like, damn, this is, like I said, I will forever, even now in the wake of the tragedy that happened last week, I will forever consider Fantasmic my favorite Imagineering thing ever. But man, Rise of Resistance and the Millennium Falcon Smugglers Run come real close because they're both awesome. And I do want to kiss a little corporate company butt there because they are awesome. So
that brings me now down to number 2 and number 1.
Yes.
And I'm just going to go right into it. Number 2.
Nice. That's a cool shot of Palpatine. I like it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, this man, the puppet master, as you basically called him during your description, it's like,
oh yeah,
what more can I say about Palpatine that hasn't already been said? I mean, again, the Padawan of Darth Plagueis. Darth Plagueis being the father, essentially, of Anakin Skywalker. So Palpatine has kind of been there right from conception.
Yeah.
With Anakin.
Yep.
And we didn't know it.
Nope.
Which makes the comment at the end of The Phantom Menace that much more eerie. You know, when he tells Anakin, we'll be watching your career with great interest.
And it's like, oh, because you know who it is. It's like, oh.
At that point, we already know Palpatine's the Emperor and Anakin becomes Vader, but we don't really know how connected the two are until you get to the Plagueis story.
Yeah. Which in real time doesn't hit place for another 6 years. So you're sitting there going, oh shit. You know, it's Shakespeare, it's epic stuff, man.
And
it really is.
Palpatine is such a master manipulator. If we're gonna put it into wrestling terms, I compare Palpatine to Haman.
Oh God, yeah. Oh yeah.
First of all, you think about the people that Palpatine has managed,
right?
And the lineage there of awesomeness. And then you think about how just a line, a sentence, a throwaway statement. Have you ever heard the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise? Can be so consuming that it makes people go online and buy a book.
Or, you know, the one you repeat to me. In order to understand, one must have a more a broader approach than the dogmatic view. It's like, you know what? He's an evil son bitch. He's out of line, but he's not wrong. Exactly.
But he's right. And you think about it, Luke ends up being the one to balance the Force.
Yeah.
He lives on that edge of darkness.
Yeah, he does.
But he is a tried and true Jedi.
Yep. Even when Ben turns, even when Ben joins up with Snoke, and becomes Kylo Ren, even then Luke's like, no, I will not succumb to this crap. And it's beautiful storytelling. I have said for years and years, Jay, that Scar is my favorite Disney villain because he's just evil and he betrays his own family to get what he wants.
Mm-hmm.
I have since reformed that view, kind of. And I say that because since we own the damn thing, Palpatine is right up there. And had he been conceived in the Disney era, or when Disney owned it if Disney owned Star Wars from the beginning, he'd be my favorite Disney villain because he's just that well-rounded and epic a character.
He really is.
He's just such a. I'm gonna throw it out there. I know I've used it a couple times already, but he's such an evil motherfucker, and just doesn't care.
Yeah,
no cares about anybody.
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah,
is that he gives 0 Fs,
and he knows how much an evil son bitch he is, and he's like, "Yep, that's right."
I mean, you don't realize it at first, especially if you watch him in 1 through 9 order.
Right.
When he's there talking to Amidala and he's kind of shaken and nervous and what do we do? Like, you honestly feel like he cares.
Yeah.
But then you realize whether you watch them 1 through 9 or whether you watch 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3,
right,
the realization finally sets in that he don't care.
Nope. He is Veruca Salt in her purest form. Gives no shits. Wants what she wants when she wants it.
They say that the greatest villain believes that they are doing the right thing.
That's true. Yeah, in wrestling especially.
Palpatine is definitely not that villain. He knows he's doing the wrong thing, which is the only reason why I can't label him as the greatest villain.
Okay.
Because he knows he's doing the wrong thing.
And he does it anyway.
Number 1 feels like he's doing the right things for the right reasons.
Ooh, I like it.
You used his form as Lord Vader.
I did.
I used his forms as Anakin. The only one that we share in the same spot. And honestly, if Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader, is not your number 1 Star Wars character, get the fuck off the show. No, Meacham, no.
Okay.
Everything begins and ends.
Yeah.
Anakin.
It's true.
Even Kylo Ren.
Yes.
Looked to Vader for inspiration.
Yep. And guidance at the end of Skywalker, too.
And again, Anakin believes he's doing the just and noble thing. And you look at everything that young man goes through on his ascension to becoming Darth Vader. Doesn't know who his father is. Taken away from his mother by Jedis.
Yeah.
Lives a life of slavery. Comes back to Tatooine because of nightmares he's having about his mother, only to have her die in his arms.
It's the worst.
Told he's not allowed to love, but falls in love anyways. Gets married. Conceives what he believes to just be a child, we end up discovering as twins, with the love of his life. Begins having nightmares, much like he did about his mother, about his wife dying.
In childbirth.
Does everything he can to try to prevent that. It's the only reason he entertains the story of Darth Plagueis the Wise.
Yep.
Because you can't learn these powers from a Jedi. He believes everything he does is for the right reasons.
Yes.
And because of Palpatine's manipulation, and even to a certain extent, the manipulation of the Jedi Council,
Yep.
it's not. Which leads us to the fall of Anakin Skywalker. And then we go through the original trilogy. You know, A New Hope, he's just this bad motherfucker.
Yeah.
Come Empire, though, he starts to show that there might be a little bit more inside of him. Because he spares Luke's life. And then we get to Jedi where he does come full circle. He is redeemed. He can't watch his son get tortured any longer by Palpatine.
The
And
same
he rises
man.
up against him.
Yep. Yep.
And then we see Vader burned on the funeral pyre, get back with his forceness, become a force ghost at the end. And then comes the Kylo part of the story. Where because Vader was this dominant, big, bad, imposing force, Kylo looks up to that. He wants to be the second coming of that.
Yes.
He keeps the charred helmet as a commemorative to look upon for guidance and to remind himself of how to not fall. Every move that is made from episode 1 through episode 9 has something to do with Anakin Skywalker.
As does Rogue One. You figure that's a what do you call it? Anthology story. But Anakin and Vader is very much involved in that one. We don't see him a lot in Solo. I don't think he's even mentioned in Solo, if I remember right.
He's not.
But even still, if Palpatine is the straw that stirs the drink, Anakin Vader is the caffeine that keeps the energy going. And the endings of Revenge of the Sith and Return of the Jedi for me are so powerful. Because the end of Revenge of the Sith, like I said, Palpatine's got that evil smile in the corner, realizing he's got him. But it's Anakin's anguish and just the realization that he did everything he could and it didn't matter. He lost everything. And just that horrible no, and again, that's been lampooned a lot over the years, but whatever. I find it to be very poignant, damn it.
I mean, Hayden's performance in general has been lampooned over the years. And again, I don't think it's justified.
I don't either at this point. I really don't.
I mean, is it Oscar caliber material?
No.
Fuck no.
Of course not. It's not going to be.
Space opera.
Yeah, exactly.
But you go back and you look at those scenes, and especially the one that I always come back to in Attack of the Clones, when he confesses to Padme about slaughtering the Sand People. Yeah. And if you can honestly tell me by watching that scene that you don't feel something in your soul for what that man went through, again, get the fuck off the show.
Yeah. I don't even have a soul and I feel it.
Because as whiny and bitchy as he may have been in that movie, again, he's a teenager going through teenage angst, and he just held his mother in his arms as she died.
Yeah.
You tell me you're going to freaking carry on like some saint
Yeah, no.
Some imposing force after holding your mom in your arms as she breathes her last breath.
Yeah.
Regardless of what age you do it at.
Yeah, no.
And especially for someone that young.
Figure he's 19 and his mother dies in his arms, and she doesn't just her body rears back. I'm surprised Shmi's head didn't fall off her shoulders the way her neck snapped back like it did. That's gonna rent space in anybody's head, especially a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
How do you not react? I mean, and as powerful a being as we know Anakin Skywalker is, he was such a presence in the Force that the spirit of Qui-Gon even felt the rage of that moment. It's just powerful. So then you have him losing everything. And then, like you said, watching and feeling like he could do nothing as Palpatine, who he realizes has manipulated everything ever in his life, is striking his son, murdering his son in front of him. He's like, nope, not anymore. Mm-hmm. And sacrifices himself, literally, because of all the damage done. And, the prophecy came true. He brought balance to the Force.
And if you notice, every one of my top 5 plays an integral part in Anakin.
Yep. Everybody. And that is
the storytelling that I bring to you twice a month here on The Dad's Not Always on Wrestling.
Yes. Damn, that was good. I'm proud of this show. We do good here. This is one of our better ones. Honorable mentions for me. I only had 2 because I wanted to include both of them. I just didn't feel like they were in my top 10. And this isn't Daisy Ridley, obviously, no shit. But I just love the picture so much. This is actually taken by my buddy Catherine when we went for our Christmas visit. Ray. Again, such an unfortunately lampooned character in the history of Star Wars. I don't think that's necessarily right, because she is as much of a important and powerful figure as the other Skywalker women, and doesn't get near enough credit that either Leia or Amidala get. I think that's bullshit.
I think a lot of it has to do with Daisy Ridley and the way she ran her mouth during production and everything on social media. Same with John Boyega, who plays Finn.
Yeah.
I think that really hurt them.
Yeah, it probably.
I mean, if they had just studied their predecessors and pulled a Harrison Ford, probably wouldn't have been so bad for them.
No, that's true.
Because as corny as Harrison Ford feels that those movies are, you never really ever heard him run it down to the public.
No.
Because he realized that that's what put him on the map.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had his appearance in American Graffiti.
I was going to say, yeah.
George Lucas producing, also directing, but at the end of the day, it's a blink and you miss it scene. He's on screen for maybe 2 minutes. 5 top, that's being generous.
Yes.
But without Han Solo, there's no Indiana Jones.
Nope.
Without Indiana Jones, there's no pick a movie from Harrison's filmography.
Yep.
And without American Graffiti, there's no Han Solo.
Right.
So he in fact owes his entire career to George Lucas.
Yep, exactly.
Which is why he never publicly runs it down.
No, ever.
I mean, I've heard him run down the holiday special, but let's be real, who doesn't?
As he should.
I think I'm probably one of the only people that doesn't run down the holiday special because I take it for the grain of salt that it is and enjoy it on the level it's supposed to be enjoyed at.
Grain of salt? We're going with that white powder really in that movie? Really?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. All right. Okay. Just checking. Okay.
It's either a grain of salt or a gram of Coke, and I figured a grain of salt.
Thank you. Thank you for going there. I appreciate it. Thank you. Because
I'm trying to be good to our viewing public here. Okay, you're Mr. Drop the F-bomb every other comment on this show. You're pulling the James Ebert role. I'm over here talking about 0 F's given and trying my damnedest not to drop the bomb. And you want me to sit here talking about how everyone is strung out on cocaine during the making of the special?
I want
other
honesty.
type of snow, as opposed to this snow that you see behind me from the planet of Hoth.
I just want to
They
be
probably
honest.
looked over. They probably took the leftover kilos to help design Hop. If you want to be fair about it, if that's what you're looking for, Meacham.
I just don't know if there's anything was left over after the holiday special because goddamn. Anyway, my other honorable mention, now we're trying to rein this shit back in, God help us all, is Darth Maul because he's just such a badass. And I just could not mention. And plus the fact, I love the pictures we took this day when there was. I love these pictures were taken on a rainy day. It looks like there's sunshine outside. So, go figure that shit. Anyway, I love both those characters. I think, like you said, Daisy, Daisy did what she did with putting her foot in her mouth, but the characters of Rey and Maul definitely need to be acknowledged on both lists for sure. So, did you have any mentions?
Okay. No. My honorable mentions, I mean, it's like I don't have images for them, but it's like Jabba definitely gets an honorable mention from me.
Jabba was what I was going to mention about the technology because it was doing the special editions and having Han having to walk around Jabba and going, he stepped right over his tail. We got to, and it was that little bitty nugget in A New Hope special edition that led to, okay, well, we got to see, okay, that led to the path of Jar Jar and CGI Yoda. So again, you got to give that lovable, despicable creature hut a little love too there.
But Jabba definitely gets an honorable mention from me, as does Greedo.
Yes.
Gets an honorable mention from me. I mean, it's hard. Lando.
Yeah.
Like Lando would have been number 11. He really would have, because he's another one that's so integral to the story.
Absolutely.
But at the end of the day, you can have Star Wars without Lando Calrissian.
Yes. Maybe not representation, but you can have Star Wars. Because figure the first 3 movies, that's it. I did want to throw out there that with the exception of the holiday special, which is included in this graphic, but is not part of the Disney Plus lineup, everything that was discussed today is available to watch in one form or another, except for the holiday special, which is on YouTube in its entirety more than once, because that's how much the company cares about protecting it. It's just out there on YouTube for everybody to see. But everything else is on Disney Plus, and I'm so grateful for it because and Ahsoka is premiering soon. It's not out there yet, but it will be soon. As much as I enjoy having those digital copies of the original trilogy with all the mistakes and all the crap, it's cool to be able to just go, okay, if I don't want to sit here and dick with, push a button. But again, you and I are both hard copy folks. I've got my copies of the DVDs somewhere around here. I've got the original trilogy on VHS somewhere. Like those ugly.
If I could find the original trilogy on VHS sealed in plastic, I would snatch that up.
Hell yeah. Yep.
Because I'm not going to watch them. I don't have a VCR.
No.
But in trying to expand my physical media presentation,
yes,
I do want to find VHSs that are sealed, especially if they're movies that mean something to me.
Absolutely. And these do, man. Oh man.
Yeah.
So that's why I am grateful that I did discover the Etsy user that actually, for lack of a better term, reconstituted the original prints of the original trilogy. And I have both on Blu-ray, which is ridiculous, and the digital copies that I've been able to show you and Ken, and because it's funny to go back and watch them side by side because the upgrades are just astronomically obvious compared to 1977, 1990, 1983, and even the prequel trilogy is updated on Disney Plus to an extent. I mean, the whole Vader yell, of course, is definitely whatever, but there's also some really cool stuff that George didn't have access to, and he'll be the first to tell you, well, the reason they're like that is because I updated them. You should watch them like they are now. It's like some of us like watching the crazy kooks and the mistakes and the flubs and the technological gaga. So I appreciate having the ability to watch the original prints in a digital TV form because it's cool.
Yeah.
Shoot, the original Crawl doesn't even have episode 4 on it. It's just it just goes into the first line, not A New Hope, nothing. It's just like, whoa, man, they were making sure just in case this took a big giant shit that they were not going to worry about teasing a sequel. So it's cool to go back and watch them now. And it's mainly because of these characters involved that we talked about.
Yep.
Oh, well, you mentioned tomorrow. We are right back into it. We are doing yet another watch along of a WWE Premium Live event, Backlash. They're actually in Puerto Rico tonight for SmackDown. As you're watching this, they're getting ready to go live for SmackDown, at least on the East Coast. And encourage you to watch that because they're going to be in the venue that they're going to be at tomorrow for Backlash. Of course, we'll have open mic night tomorrow. And unless I completely bomb when I go. Again, we're pre-taping, featuring footage from a short time ago in a galaxy far, far away, although it's only a couple trains away. That'll be, hopefully, I get some good footage from Star Wars Day because I've never been. So.
That should be awesome. We are pre-taping, everyone knows, so I don't know if this is actually going to happen for me, but I just might, go down to Hollywood because on May the 4th, Carrie Fisher is getting a star on the Walk of Fame.
No shit. Wow. Well, then
on May the 4th.
We will applaud Carrie in pre-production and obviously airing in post, but congratulations to Miss Fisher. That's pretty
congratulations to her on finally getting a star. Unfortunately, she's not here to receive the honors and be there.
No.
But you almost have to wonder if it's not going to be a very Star Wars celebration down there, considering they're doing it on May the 4th.
You got to believe there's going to be something.
I wouldn't be surprised to see her daughter there.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if Mark shows up.
Yeah.
Harrison, maybe not.
Yeah, but Mark more than likely.
Mark more than likely. George, always a possibility. And I'm sure they'll have some characters out there, dressed up, a Chewbacca, an R2, a 3PO type of thing. So if I end up going down there will be that footage on open mic night as well.
So it's going to be a very Star Wars open mic night. So
intergalactic from different sides of the galaxy.
Yes, Hollywood and Batu. Yeah, definitely different divergences within the Force, to say the very least. Anyway, especially Hollywood Boulevard, or on one, or wherever Carrie Starr is going to be. I don't know whether they actually have her star, but I'm sure they do the ceremony there in front of the theater like they always do. As far as the next time you see us together doing the dads thing, will be in 2 weeks, again on a Friday. And with our top characters of the day being bad guys, for lack of a better term, this show fits right in, man.
The top 10 wrestling heels of all time. I mean, it feels like we're doing a little bit overkill on villainy because we did top 10 TV villains. Now we're doing top 10 Star Wars characters. And the fact that Anakin Skywalker, who becomes Darth Vader, is number one for both of us.
Yeah, and Palpatine
definitely showing the villains their love here.
But that's okay.
And then we're going to do another heel show on May 19th. We all know how that plays into wrestling.
Just why I put the fire in the background, brother.
And then it's about a week prior to a certain Too Sweet debut. So,
which will be included in a weekend of craziness for us as well, because we got 3 watch-alongs back to back days. And then the Monday, Memorial Day itself, I'm going to be back at Disneyland for another celebration. So
you just missed a golden opportunity, bro. Instead of saying back to back, you should have said back 2 days.
Oh, well, that shows how good my cast member synergy is. But anyway, I digress, because I won't be in Back in Bat 2 until the 4th day, and even then, I don't even know we're going to go back there, because it depends how much the little one wants to go do the grown-up stuff. But I digress.
Buy the T-shirt. We all know
JJ did. If you find out whoever made this shirt that my parents bought for me for my birthday, we got to get this for everybody that's turning 40 or is in their 40s or approaching their 40s, because this shit's just too good. I love this shirt.
Well, unfortunately, some of us are pushing 50, so
we won't talk about that today.
Bruno status. We don't talk about that.
Definitely Bruno status. Although this year in particular, we're talking about Bruno Sammartino being the history of the WWE Championship being 60 years. Holy shit. We thank you all for sticking with us for the 2 hours that we've been on today, plus trailers. I'm sure it's going to be more. But I'm glad we're back on Fridays, man. It's cool to be back on Fridays. Get that Friday content out there. I know you have your Renegades reviews prior to us every Friday. But it's good to have the synergy back on Fridays. Leave that Monday stuff open for having film for the boss like I did last week. So it's good to have Mondays open, and I am glad that we get to lead into Backlash with an amazing list. Follow Star Wars Day with a Star Wars list. It's going to be, again, another busy month. I mapped out my month, man. I just no sleep till WrestleMania 40. That's the apparent, unnecessary, unintentionally made goal.
Why do you do that to yourself? I have just got to know.
I don't know. Glutton for punishment, like we talked about earlier, brother. It is what it is. But I've enjoyed this. And again, like we talked about, I didn't start out as a Star Wars fan, but I am very much a believer in all things the Force, and I am grateful to have been included in your journey as the saga continues to unfold even now, because as you and I both know, as long as the mouse has his hands in something, it will never, ever die, truly. So
absolutely. You've got to believe in the Force.
Yes.
Believe in the positivity that is Positively Page. Believe in Mustafa Ali. Yes. But God damn it, I do not believe in Joe Hendry.
No, neither of us do. Damn that Joe Hendry. We need to wrap this up before we get too far.
Or the West Coast Professor.
That's
Jeff
me.
Meacham. I am the Renegade JJ Williams. Thank you for joining us today as we took a look at our top 10 characters from the Star Wars franchise. We appreciate you guys tuning in, joining us. And until next time, may the 4th be with you, and enjoy the rest of your Revenge of the 5th.
I didn't realize I was muted. Sorry about that. So we'll be joining open mic night at the top of the hour across the multiverse of media as far as the YouTube pages and the possibly the YouTubes. I forget. I always forget if we do the YouTubes or not, the Twitters or not. So be ready. Anyway, thank you guys for watching this very special presentation of a couple of retro episodes of Dad's Not Always on Wrestling. Always fun to be able to look back on the stuff we've done in the past, especially when it comes to fandoms like Star Wars or any of the other crazy shit we get into. We will be live again at the top of the hour with open mic game night and Star Wars trivia in the style of Jeopardy. So be ready for that. And we will see you guys next game night, which will be actually next week. God, we're going to see you all day. We'll be back in a second. I'm going to stop talking and just roll the damn signature because I'm exhausted. Good night.
The Jeff Meacham Network's Multiverse of Media. For over 15 years, the recognized symbol of excellence and the standard bearer in coverage of sports and entertainment.